the easiest project I've ever been in. Like not writing wise, not playing wise.
Right.
But having one line of communication.
Yep.
With a very similar, like-minded dude.
Yep.
Because I think we're very on the same page. We're very excited about being able to play.
Yeah.
So it's like it makes everything streamlined. Everything so much easier. Shows, practice, you name it.
Creativity.
Yeah, like agreeing on parts.
Yeah.
One guy, hey, can we try this? And we're usually pretty open of like, and I will also say we usually don't argue like, oh, we're usually like when something writes, hey, that's cool, let's try it again.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Metal Maniacs Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Ingersoll, and I'm here with a man that's among the living.
Hey, it's your boy Mod.
What's up, buddy?
What's good, man? Good to see you. Happy belated.
Hey, thanks, dude.
Happy birthday.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, we partied last night.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
I mean,
our party was a...
Party.
Yeah.
Quote, party.
Cards Against Humanity, just with like 4 or 5 friends.
That's a good night.
Dude, it was so great. It was needed.
Sounds about the right party at our age.
Yeah, exactly.
30s and up, you're like, staying in cards? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
great,
great, dude. We had such a great time.
Fucking laughs that we'll never forget.
No, my stomach still hurts. But yeah, today we welcome the insane duo from Kalamazoo, Michigan. I guess Kalamazoo, Michigan. Lucius Fox.
Woo! Thank you.
Hello,
Thanks for having us.
Hey, what's up, fellas?
Stoked to be here.
Yes.
It's a beautiful Sunday. We had a good show the other night.
Great
I'm
show.
going to see Paris tonight.
He's super busy with other shows.
So, before we start diving into this little incident today, what's going on, Paul?
Yeah, just car issues.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which has been a running thing. It's something electrical,
Oh, okay.
which was fixed, and then it rained, and the
then
same issue happened.
Uh,
And then driving back Thursday, I assume that's probably when it happened. Driving back Thursday
standing
from
water
that
was
show,
unavoidable.
And I was like, all right, well, and I didn't really drive it yesterday much, and then something happened. I was like, crap, I got it home, and then nothing this morning. I'm like, well, what's going on? Crap.
Yeah.
And then I messaged you guys and then text him, and he's like, I can come get you. I'm like, okay, never mind. We'll be there just a little late.
That's cool.
I gotta really love the commitment and the dedication to like go out and get your bandmate. So drive clear to another city, and then drive all the way out to us, which we're not next door neighbors.
We're not on the way for anything.
No.
I think it literally added 3 hours to his day.
That's all right. It's all right. Well, I
On
mean,
the
like,
road.
he's 50% of the band. And like, I didn't want to come by myself, and I didn't want to
Right.
cancel. This is a cool thing, and looking forward to it.
Hell yeah, man.
Same.
Appreciate it.
I'm stoked that you guys are here. We're big fans. I'm a huge fan. And when Jay was like, these guys are gonna be here late, but they almost had to cancel, and I was like, thank God they're coming, because I just wanted to hang with you guys today and talk you guys up, because your music is awesome. And
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so, we got to be introduced to your band because one of you guys must have sent us some music to one of our reaction episodes. And I love when we get to have a group on from the reaction episode.
Yeah,
Like we get to check their music out, get a little taste of it, and then we kind of see you around, get to know you, and then have you on the show. That's always awesome to kind of see that. But I would say the main issue with your band is you can't just listen to one song and be able to be like, yeah, this is kind of encompasses your band, because that is not the case. But then when, like I said, got to play with you guys at Heart on Your Sleeve Fest this year, I was blown away. I was like, when we talked to you guys after it, I was like, mercy, I give up. I tap out. This is insane shit these guys are doing.
Yes.
I just made me want to quit my guitar, and how much that irritates me. I still love you guys for it.
Y'all are sick though. I was like, I've known Jeff for a long time.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
he's a good friend,
Yeah.
and like I've known of Iron Sharpens Iron, but I hadn't seen y'all yet, and I was just like so into that set. Like y'all threw down so hard, and just like the energy of it, I was just like, this is what I'm here for. That was such a fun night. Like
Thank you. Yeah,
really
dude,
good
it was.
diversity to like that entire bill, and it was just fun. It was a good time.
you know, with Chantel, she's a good friend, and you know, she's been on the show the last few years just to promote the fest, and then with her band, and I've played in bands with her a long time ago, but you know, her whole thing with that fest was like to bring back the hall show. And I felt like that was because, you know, it helped for us to be there to interview the bands, to actually get to talk to everybody. But I became like, I would say, friends with the Bronson Arm guys that night too, you know? So it's like you just make those acquaintances, but it's like just everybody was different, but it was just a good community vibe, and I just liked it, you know, because no band sounded like one another there. I don't think every single one was different.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
it was cool capturing that too, like in the compilation that you put together.
Yeah, that's beautiful too, by the way. Yeah, I've like, I need to sit down and watch it in full. I've like watched like sections of it. Yeah. And that's such a cool thing. I really appreciate y'all doing that and doing that together.
Yeah, just trying to put out there for the fest and the bands that are on it. You know, sometimes it's hard like getting the audio correct and all that because it's so noisy in there and trying to get the small setup. But like, we do the best we can do, and I thought it was awesome, man.
Yeah, it was a good
it was a great show. So yeah, but getting to, you know, just meet you guys through there, and then, you know, talk a little bit through Instagram. So it's cool to sit down with you guys today. So let's just kind of go back. Let's start at the beginning. You guys have been at this for a long time.
Yeah.
When I say you guys, I know it kind of started with you, but we'll kind of get into that. But to start this, you want to just talk about a little bit, you know, just since we only have the two of you here, first, say what your name is and what you do in the band. That way the audience can get acclimated. I forgot that part.
Yeah. I'm Jeremy. I play guitar and synthesizer.
And a ton of pedals.
Yeah.
Stomp on a lot of pedals.
I'm Paul, and I bang on the drums.
Like an animal.
Yeah, you guys do a great job at both of those things.
Both of you guys throw down hard too. Like it's not just
that's
like
the goal.
It's not just like you guys are incredible at your instruments respectively, but also like you guys have a great like energy on the stage.
Thank you.
So I like watching you guys play too.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really fun.
I definitely think it's a feed off of each other thing. It's just sometimes it's like, oh, I'm going a little, I can get a little jumpy where it's like, oh, we're playing like it was a little bit like Superior, one of my favorite songs right now. It's like, oh, we're playing that kind of early. So I went really hard. The next song I was just like trying to recoup, and then he's going hard. I'm like, okay, I got to go for this chorus. It's like you just start leveling up. And then also I will say, I think having just huge hair
I was
also helps because like just when you move, people are like, I didn't see your face the whole time, other than like when you would whip it up and then your face was like this or that.
The only thing you guys got more than hair is notes. Like, like there's all the notes, but you got a lot of hair.
Yeah,
that's a good hair to note ratio for sure.
Hair to note ratio. We should try and calculate that. Have a mathematician come in.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
We got to figure out for the new album what's the hair to note ratio.
It's the HTNR, the hair to note ratio.
You guys struggle with hair in the mouth?
Oh, dude.
At the Bells show, actually, I was like trying to spit it out during songs. Like I was trying to just like lean down and spit, and like it just kept sticking on the side. And unless you can get like a fish at some point, you're like, I can't really get this out until we stop.
It's just there. Yeah.
But
well, since it's just a 2-piece, just I guess we could start here with you, Paul, and just take me just a little bit on your adventure up until like getting into drums and kind of how.
Yeah, how'd you become a musician?
Yeah, what made you decide to do what you do now?
And the style of music too, right?
Yeah.
That was my sister. She's an incredible singer. So from a pretty young age, she was going to classes for it. She had a teacher doing that kind of stuff. So we were both into music, and I liked just hearing her sing, and I would listen to some music that she would listen to. And early on, it was Backstreet Boys, this and that. But like, I was always like, okay, like whatever that beat was, I was like, all right, that's a catchy beat, this and that. So I think I just naturally liked rhythm of that. And then I feel like I was next. It was Eiffel 65. That was a huge album for me. Just European techno. Blue. Dabba dee dabba die.
About that, man.
Blue dabba dee dabba die. It was just, it was a huge song in the early 2000s.
Okay.
And then nothing, like,
sure.
Then it was
one hit wonder for sure.
But
but
the whole album is
revolutionary
fantastic. It's
for-
all the same, just it's. But I was like, oh, and then
we still jam that pretty regularly in the car. Like
usually
that
when we're
full
on a tour,
album,
it's gonna hit at
there's
least
some deep
once.
cuts on it.
Then I kind of became a hip hop head in early middle school, had friends, and then they kind of slowly transitioned into playing guitar, playing bass.
Okay.
And then they kind of just asked her, like, hey, you want to play drums in the band? I was like, sure. And like, I kind of asked my mom, and it was a weird, I don't want to, maybe fate, I don't know. But it was no joke that day that I asked. She works at the prison as a dental hygienist.
Okay.
One of the guards that she would go see his band play out, a cover band at the bars, told her that day that he was selling his first set.
Huh.
If she knew anyone that was interested.
Wow.
And then that day I came home and was like, hey, Mom, can I play drums?
It's crazy.
And she was just like, what? She's like, yeah, we can go check them out. And I think it was 2 days after
yeah.
that I went and got my first set. He hooked me up with everything
wow.
that I needed.
Damn.
That's
and
way
for super
better
cheap.
than-
And yeah, I was like, all right. And it was off to the races. We're freaking middle school kids. Hey,
Yeah. Oh, I know that.
Yeah.
energy.
like, all right. But it was just like, cool. I can play a simple beat.
Yep.
Like just 4, like, all right. And then I loved it.
Were
It was like,
lessons
all right, this
involved
is
early on.
funny thing was no, like when my sister is in singing lessons, I want to take piano lessons, but
Okay.
I was pretty erratic and off the wall as a kid. And my
Sure.
parents were like, you want to right now, in 2 weeks you won't. So they're like, no. And I was super pissed about it, but it ended up falling into like, I kind of play a little bit of everything now,
Okay.
but drums are definitely like, that's what I play.
Sure.
But yeah.
You
And
just taught yourself then?
yep. And it's, for the most part, grew up in Jackson, was in some punk bands. And then early on, a little bit weirder, another instrumental band called Tigris at the time, but we were really weird, not super like off timing or like heavy like this, but also instrumental. Then I was in a punk band. And that's actually where I met him.
Okay.
I was playing with some friends and we were on a bunch of bills with Lucius Fox. So I met Alex, the first drummer, and then I met John, the second drummer, started being friends with Jeremy, and then moved out to Kalamazoo, and it just, everything fell into line. It was like, hey, do you want to jam on something else?
Right.
Hey, do you want to start playing Lucius Fox? And I was like, oh, yep. It was like,
Okay.
absolutely. And then it was like, boom, off to the races.
Cool.
And
Well-
like I said before, everything since I joined was kind of like, he already had stuff written. So it was like, hey, let's write new stuff. And it was real quick out of the gate.
Sweet.
Hell yeah.
Sweet.
So we'll dive into that a little bit more too as we progress through the albums here. But yeah, hell yeah, that's cool, man. What about you, Jeremy?
I started out playing violin when I was in 4th grade. My elementary school was really cool. They had this program the year that I was in 4th grade where kids got you got a choice of a stringed instrument or a brass instrument. Like every kid in 4th grade got to play. So I started out with that. Then I played violin for a couple of years, and I'd like always wanted to play guitar. And like we'd had like an old classical guitar in the basement that I'd mess around with. And then in 6th grade, my mom like helped me. Like I think by helped me, she like paid for it. But like I feel like at the time I thought that I was involved financially somehow.
Fourth
But
grade.
she, yeah,
Doing chores.
yeah. But yeah, in 6th grade, I got an electric guitar. I got like one of the like kind of like Strat packs. It was like a crate Strat pack though, and yeah. So she got me this cool like fake red Strat, and then I took guitar lessons for like about maybe 6 months, and it was just like enough to get me good enough to where I didn't lose interest. I mean, I don't think I would have lost interest in it, but like it got me good enough to where I could start like figuring out stuff on my own and like looking up tabs of stuff that I wanted to learn. And then just like for whatever reason, like financially, I don't know what the deal was, but I stopped going to guitar lessons. But then I just kind of kept going from there, and then like just have kind of like made it more and more my own thing ever since then. And then just like been playing in bands as long as it was feasible. Like I just remember like ever since like getting that, I was like trying to figure out ways to like trick my friends into playing instruments and like get a band going. But yeah, I've been like pretty consistently playing out since I was like 15 or 16, I guess. So it's been like 20, almost 20, like a long
years.
time. Yeah, it's been a minute.
So with your particular unique style, I mean, the first single came out in 2015, correct?
Yeah.
November 21st. So, I mean, 10 years Lucius Fox
Yeah.
been kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
And you have a very distinct style. I mean, at the end of the day, it kind of starts with you. And I know, Paul, you've added a lot to the band, and I'll develop on that in a minute. But did you play in any other kind of bands before you kind of did the Lucius Fox thing, or like maybe different styles, or a little more straightforward stuff, or was it always just kind of these lush melody, like expansive musical pieces? Because that's where you're at.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like this, like what we're doing right now, like the past few albums that we've put out, and then like the one that we just finished recording, it's just like the most like, I feel like it's like what I've been trying to get to for forever. Like what I really like about this project and what I'm really proud of is just like I feel like, I mean, I know I can hear it, but like just like the leveling up, like just like keep refining and getting better and like closer to like whatever that ultimate version is. But yeah, prior to this band, like I was in like some more kind of like, I don't know, whatever, like high school boys that are like into heavy music, whatever you want to call that, like kinds
like
of bands,
metalcore type
like
stuff,
not quite there. Like
or-
we had friends that were in like I don't know, like kind of like late aughts, mid late aughts, kind of like the deathcore. Like we had friends, but
okay.
I was in more of like, I don't really know what we were trying to do. Like I was really like into like the Sword and Wolf Mother and that kind of shit. So like more like not like truly like stoner metal, but like kind of like riffier,
kind of doomy,
yeah,
slower stuff, right,
punky.
Nick?
But like I was also into like the Fall of Troy and like post hardcore, and so I don't really know what we were trying to do. It wasn't good, but but like that kind of stuff. I was in college. I was in more of like a kind of like pop punk emo kind of band where I was like really getting into post rock and stuff. So my parts were all like very informed by that, but we were more kind of like say anything type stuff.
Okay.
And then I've been in like folkier projects too, and kind of like psychedelic rock. And I mean, kind of like Paul and I are both like pretty widespread musically with like what we like to listen to. So I honestly, like any chance that I get to like play music, I'm there for it.
Yeah.
But I love like big expansive stuff. I love like telling a story. I love like the composition end of it. So I feel like this is like, I don't know, my favorite thing that I've ever done musically.
Okay. Yeah, to me, and I could be totally wrong with this, but I, like you said, the steps that you've taken, like your maturation, like I listen to every note that you have on Bandcamp, so I could tell where the whole arc goes. And to me, it's almost like, seems maybe the first stuff is really jammy. I know there's a jammy element anyway to what you guys do, right? Because I'm sure you could jam on something for even longer or shorter if you wanted to, because you just have these passages. But like when I hear the first single, I was telling myself, man, probably just starts off with some jams, right? Like, you know, so is it Lewis?
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
he goes by Alex. Like Luis is what
Luis?
I always called him.
Okay.
Like growing up, but he kind of I'm not entirely sure which one he prefers. But it's his middle name, Alexander. But so yeah, Luis, Alex. Me and him have been friends since kindergarten. So like we met when we were like 5, and then we both actually kind of got into playing guitar at the same time, around 6th, 7th grade. And so we grew up together with music, had like a lot of the same interests. And then I moved, so I went to college at Michigan State to be a science teacher, and that's what I do now. But so I'm from Kalamazoo originally. I lived up in the Lansing area for 5 years, and then I moved back home to start working. And I ran into Alex at, I think like maybe like Walmart or Meijer or something. I was just like getting a prescription, and then like I knew that he was around Kalamazoo, but we just like talked for a couple minutes, and then I'd been like wanting to get a new project going. The band that I was in college wasn't doing stuff anymore, and I was just, I mean, like I always want to be doing music stuff, so we just like got together to jam. And I'd been working on these kind of like singer-songwritery, more like kind of like folky, or I don't know if that's the right word, but like mellower music.
Structured.
Yeah, like structured, just kind of traditional songs. And I jammed with him, and like he came up and played a show with me in Lansing, like I think like right before I moved like back to Kalamazoo. And then from there we just kind of started jamming, and like we're both into like heavier and like weirder music and more like math rock and like heavy stuff and like shreddy like prog metal. So like that just kind of like steered the direction of our jams. And then I was like, oh, let's kind of write this kind of stuff. And then really from that point on, it's just been like, oh, this is what I want to do, and just kind of like getting better at it and like figuring out what works and what doesn't work and like figuring out how to do more with less.
So I mean, I love the first single that you put out. So I just thought it had a beautiful melody on it. Now was there,
what is, sorry, I like what which
Stay Cool Bird?
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay,
So,
sorry.
yeah.
I like
No,
it's
it's
weird
okay.
thinking
It was
about
2015
yeah, it was a
when you
long
put it
time
out,
ago.
so-
Yeah.
But yeah, that was cool, but there was some singing on it.
Yeah.
So, and I noticed that there are parts of singing here and there,
Yeah.
but nothing on the newest one, and only one singing part on the album before that.
The final track.
Yeah, final track of the album before that,
Which was really great.
So you want to tell me a little bit about the singing, or
Yeah,
where
yeah.
you choose to or not, or
Yeah, like early on, like the songs that I was first working on were just like very much like I was like singing a lot, and they were like just kind of like normal songs. And then we started jamming, and then I was like writing more intricate stuff. And like I'm not a good vocalist by any stretch. I do it, and like I like doing it, but I'm like not. I would never like claim to be a vocalist. Yeah. So we just started like jamming on stuff that was harder, and I was like, man, I can't really sing with this. So like I tried for a little bit, and then I was just like, what if we just did like all instrumental stuff? And then we had some songs that had like I think with the first like full length that we did. There's like maybe one song that had some vocals on it that was just kind of like left over from like what we'd been doing previously. And then after that, it was just like, I want to be in an instrumental band. I want to like write really hard stuff and not have to worry about vocals. Like there's a lot of bands that I like that are like that. I mean, Russian Circles is a huge influence. Like Animals as Leaders, all the post-rock bands like This Will Destroy You and that kind of stuff.
Like maybe a little lighter, but Explosions.
Explosions in the Sky.
in the Sky.
And then it just kind of became that. And then with that last full length that we put out, like I wrote that last song on the album kind of as its own thing. I was like on the beach up north, and I was just like writing this kind of folky sounding kind of homage to some Brian Wilson stuff from the Orange County soundtrack. But then I ended up using the theme from that as like kind of like the theme of the album, and it like comes up on a couple songs on that album. And then I was just like, it'd be a cool way to close out the album is having this little like kind of folk song with the homies like playing sax on it and some banjo on it.
Yeah, that was really cool. So that was just kind of its own thing, but you've just grown out of the singing. Because I did notice on the earlier stuff too, there's a lot more structure to it. Yeah, where there is like a repeat part. Whereas some of the newer stuff is just more of a voyage,
like part.
Yeah. Which makes sense in an instrumental band.
Yeah.
Because
it makes more sense.
You're going, especially with your music, because it just takes you on a ride and adventure. And sometimes it keeps progressing. Sometimes it drops off. There's a lot of dynamics to it. So, one question I want to ask before we really we'll dive into some of this, but I don't want to take too long because I just know, Paul, you're not on a lot of this earlier stuff. So, but I would like to go through it. Let me just ask you real quick, and it's kind of for you, but now that you're you've been part of Lucius Fox for a while now, why a 2-piece?
That's a good question. Paul, what you got? I got lots to say.
Well, I mean, since joining it, it's the easiest project I've ever been in. Not writing wise, not playing wise.
Right.
But having one line of communication.
Yep.
With a very similar, like-minded dude.
Yep.
Because I think we're very on the same page. We're very excited about being able to play.
Yeah.
So it's like it makes everything streamlined. Everything so much easier. Shows, practice, you name it.
Creativity.
Yeah, like agreeing on parts.
Yeah.
One guy, hey, can we try this? And we're usually pretty open of like, and I will also say we usually don't argue like, oh, we're usually like when something writes, hey, that's cool, let's try it again. It's not like, it's more times than not, we're both like, hey, yeah, let's do that. So that's the main thing. And then 2, legit. Also, I guess in the realm of making things easier, being able to use one vehicle
Yes.
and 2 guys instead of having to be like, no, we need to get a van or we need to get a trailer,
Yeah.
which even
We
with the
kinda
2 of us, we're
maybe
pushing
should,
it right
but
now
we-
where we need to get a
We
van
can
or
fit it all in
something.
the Subaru Forest.
But
I mean,
for
if Germany gets any more pedals, you're going to need a car just for
It's
those.
true. It's true. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, I'm coming up on 7 years. We've been playing
Yeah.
together for this, and that's how it's always been. Like I've always had a pretty small kit, like the standard
Yeah.
kind of kit, just a
Yeah.
4-piece.
Yep.
Nothing crazy. I've added a couple cymbals, but that's it. And then he's added a lot, but
of
it's been
amps over
it's
time.
but it's always been where literally it's a progression where you can hear it in the new album.
Yeah.
The live presence is completely changed now because you got low end coming through. Oh, now we have a synth that we're adding to part. Like it's all, and it's I think it's that, and then 2, overplaying with him. I think we both realize, no offense to anybody else that plays any other instrument, but like we don't need it.
Okay.
Like
Fair.
it's awesome trying to challenge ourselves to be like, we're gonna be a 2-piece.
Hmm.
We have 2 guys, and we're gonna show up and play with these 5 and 6-piece metal bands.
Yep.
And we're gonna be as loud as them, or try to be at least.
Yeah.
You are.
And yeah, it's awesome to step off the stage and be like, have guys who we admire that are in bands like yours that act like you. Holy shit, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And we're just like, awesome, cool, thank you. Like we think the same thing, and it's just like,
It's like a fuel. It like sustains
yeah.
it.
And I think since we've had it running for so long, it's just, especially now, it'd be like, even trying to add some, it
Even
would be
more.
so
Yeah.
difficult, and I would not want them
don't
to
need
feel
it.
shunned.
Yeah.
Because if we try, I know it would probably be a different dynamic where
There's,
they might feel out of place, or some things might just be like, oh yeah, sorry, we weren't even thinking.
it'd be really difficult for a bassist to keep up with Jeremy and you, both of you. There's like, you guys are moving so fast. Also, you already fill up the sound really well with the pedal boards and the loops and the keyboard or synthesizer parts. Like, so you're already really rounding out your sound. The only thing that I could think of when I think of your band is, I listen to even the new stuff where it's not structured songwriting, and you're basically taking a theme and you're moving it through first part, second part, third part, and it kind of comes back to some things. But I can still hear vocals.
Definitely.
But I also understand, like, now we're an instrumental band. If we did vocals, then I would have to maybe start to do verse chorus things, and I don't really want to do that. Like that doesn't really fit our style. But your guys' sound fills the room as if you were a 5-piece band without vocals. It's still fine. Like, just the amount of drum work and the amount of layering and texturing that you're doing, like dancing on the foot pedals and the loops, and then you're
I was going to say, it
I love
helps
it.
with the notes, too,
Yeah,
all the notes that are happening.
Yeah,
like-
short of being Geddy Lee and singing also, like I see he's got the left hand on the fretboard doing the pull-offs on like a G string or something, and then he's got the hand on the keyboard, and I'm like, this fucking guy. Like,
As he's clicking pedals because he's getting ready for the
this
next part.
guy.
Yeah.
this guys, get out of here. I gotta go.
Not
You
to
got
jump
a
on
Jedi
before
over
you,
here.
but at least to touch on the vocal thing, like and this is long ways away. We have plans of like doing stuff with friends
Mhm.
that touches on some older songs, and not making new versions, but slightly changing them to put in lyrics that he's kind of written some, and then we have some people in mind to kind of do collabs. But that's the thing where it's like, it'd be awesome to have those recorded and put out, and we would love to do that, and that's what our plans is. But it'd be like, we get to do that at one show. Like, we'll have one
Yeah.
show where people get to jump on, we'll do this, that, and then like
Or if
every
we, like,
once in a
play
while,
show with
Yeah,
like,
with the
Yeah,
band.
have that one
Yeah.
person
Like,
singing
at
or
least
whatever.
who I'm thinking is
Yeah.
obviously Fidakin, our buddy.
James.
I mean, they're all our buddies, but James, we just like him specifically, his vocals and him, he's
are
the
just
best dude.
crushing. Yeah.
Yeah, so like we have a few in mind, but like him was one where it's like, dude, we need you, and we play with them a decent
much
amount.
as
So
we
it'd be
can.
so
Yeah.
it'd be
Sweet.
awesome to just have a song in the middle.
Yeah.
Hey, come on, James, where it's
Yeah.
just like someone screaming at you
Throwing
with us
down,
doing,
yeah.
and then like, cool, all right,
Yeah.
this is our last song, and play 1 11-minute
Right,
instrumental
yeah,
for the
one of
end.
your
Be like, all right, bye.
jammies.
Yeah.
What about you, Jeremy? Why
Yeah, what
did you
did you say?
Oh yeah.
Two-piece.
Well, like it's like I would echo everything that Paul says. It's the easiest band that I've been in terms of just like managing people and like even like we live like an hour apart now. But that's like still easier than like being in like a 5-piece band where you're all in the same town. Just because it's hard as we get older. Like people have kids.
Yep.
Everybody like has their own life stuff going on, and then just like the more people in the project, like the more conflicting ideas about things, and it's just it gets harder to manage that. But like Paul said, we're just very much on the same page, and like I don't know, I just love playing music with Paul. I think like we play well together. But yeah, then just like the challenge of it is fun too. Like I really like the idea that we have this limitation and thinking about how we can like be the best possible version of this band, like with the limitations that we have. How can we level it up each time? How can I push myself as a musician? How can I push myself as a songwriter? How can I like challenge my physical health on stage? we were talking about the other day, and like I was like, man, you know what? I think a lot of times when there's like a 2-piece band, it's like, yeah, we're a minimalist band. I'm like, oh man, we're a maximalist.
Yeah, we're a 2-piece, but we're still gonna
2-piece maximalist band.
Dude, that's perfect. That's great
That's
for you
awesome.
guys. So you guys should have that on the next shirt, the 2-piece maximalist.
I love it. Yeah,
That's fucking awesome.
could be time.
Yeah. Well, it's just funny because we've had, Addison, Tiny Tree.
Yeah,
Addison.
yeah.
So 2-piece band there. THV's
Yep.
been on the show.
Love both of those bands.
Those
Yeah.
guys are
Obviously,
awesome.
the Bronson Arm.
Yeah.
Likewise,
Our
awesome.
cousins.
Yeah.
Bronson are.
Yeah.
Are they playing in Chicago tonight?
I think so.
Milwaukee, I think.
Okay.
tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought was Liars Club last night then?
I don't know.
I thought they're
I know that's the direction that they're
Tonight,
in,
I
though.
think.
Okay.
I was gonna say.
I
I thought
swear-
they.
I
I
think
thought
they-
they seen. I thought they said Milwaukee tonight.
They drove. I thought they drove through Chicago on the way to Milwaukee, and,
And then
they're
they're
on
heading
their way
on the way
back
back.
to
Okay.
Chicago.
Got
At
it.
least that's. I could be wrong.
Well, I was about to say I know they're doing the weekend run for
good
that.
for them.
Yeah.
Good for them. I love those
Stellar.
guys. Real quick, Jay. Before I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no.
Just
Go
I
ahead,
wanted
man.
to speak to the element of the 2-piece in that it seems like even if you got a 5-piece band, you're gonna have like 2 core members maybe
Yeah.
that do the writing, and it's like everybody else. Hey, look, no disrespect, but kind of fall in line, get your marching orders. Let's not bog down the process. If it means that much to you, maybe you should think about a side project.
Right.
Look, because
Yeah.
otherwise now it becomes this really conflated thing where we're trying to get too many ideas and too many irons in the fire, and it just slows the whole thing down. And if you're that attached to your own ideas, then maybe you should call some friends up or say, hey, can we do something else on the side? But I just find like when you get 5 or 6 people in a room, some people are just going to have to go along with it and accept that the songwriter's like 90% sold on what he's written. He's offering you some ideas in the middle here, like, hey, I need your help here, but I don't need you to rewrite my song for me. You know what I mean? Whereas you got 2 guys here, you're like, you like this? I love it. Great.
Well,
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of artists, and me being one of like, you can get attached to stuff that you write. Like
Yeah.
it's not out of the realm of possibilities. Where like, I don't want you to change it. I just want you to write a part for it.
Yeah.
Like I want you to write
Or-
a bass line for it,
Or play the part
or
that I
solo-
wrote
yeah.
for
yeah,
it.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
your
like,
bass
hey,
line's done.
This is yeah.
I already
this is
did
what
it.
this is what I had in my mind.
Yeah.
This is what I want
Yeah.
the world to see. So yeah, I mean, I definitely get that.
We talk a lot about not being married to your own material and letting others have buy-in. When you don't have to worry about it, you take that element out of the equation. You can be married to it in a 2-piece. You can be a little bit more like, stern and strict on it. Like, no, we're not doing that. Like this, it goes from this to this. Cool. Unless you got something that can make it better, I don't want to do a lot different. So I think that really speaks to like logistics and just like creativity, keeping it to a 2-piece. Like I could see making that work, especially when you can fill the room up.
Yeah.
Like you're not missing a bassist at all.
No, I mean,
Like, I don't
especially
even
with
know
this
what-
low end because
Yeah. I
he
don't
already writes it like the line for it, and then
I don't
kicks
even
a
know
pedal
what
low end, gets that looping or something, and then it's like, all right, and then I got
At no
5
point
parts to lay on
watching you
top of it.
guys, like, did I feel like I needed to go up there and play bass for you? I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, these guys need a fucking bassist. What are they
Same-
doing? Like,
but
I
it's
didn't
the same
even.
with all those bands that we just mentioned. They
Yeah.
all got the thing down, and
I
for
love
guys, I'm in a 5-piece band, and it works just because Jeff's got his own band, and I just write most of the stuff me and Larry kind of do. So it just kind of it works. Everybody's got their own thing, and Jeff's got his own band, so he doesn't really care. He's just like, hey, that's a cool riff. Let's write it. Let's jam it. So that kind of works in that aspect. But all the 2-piece bands, I mean, almost makes me want to start a 2-piece band. I'm just not as talented as you guys. So fucking.
If one of us could play drums.
Yeah.
Hey man.
But I mean,
it's never too late to start. It's
but
never too late to start.
Every 2-piece band, there's more benefits than not, I will say. Just, I mean, if you can fill up the sound, and all those bands do. I mean, the dudes from THV, they're all doing 9 things at once.
Yep.
Dude,
they're so good.
Yeah.
They're fun.
Yeah. They're great dudes too.
Absolutely.
Love them guys. But yeah, so we've had quite a few 2-piece bands, 3-piece bands, and we're always like, why that? Because Nick and I are always the death metal guys with the 5-piece members. But we also deal with all the bullshit that you just said you didn't want to deal with. Hey, can you practice? No. Well, what the fuck?
It's like the bane of my
existence. Can you play this show? No, you can't. Well, what the fuck, man?
I need to have like 2 distinctly different guitar parts happening at all times in order for me to be satisfied musically. I need you guys do power chords and really easy stuff, and you guys do really complicated stuff. And
put it all together.
Yeah.
So we'll just go through some of your catalog if you don't mind. But you came out 2015, so you've been at this for a long time. How long were you jamming with Luis before the actual single even?
Yeah, so that came out in 2015. So basically this band is like, it kind of like goes alongside sort of my like professional career. So I graduated, and so like with Michigan State, their School of Education, you give like an undergrad degree in something. So mine's in earth science, and then I did my secondary teaching certification at the same time, and then minored in integrated sciences, which lets me teach like anything science-wise, grades 6 through 12. So I graduated with that. Then I had to do like a year-long student teaching thing, and then so I moved back to Kalamazoo in 2014, and we started jamming. Like I kind of had some stuff in 2014, like the kind of like folky stuff that I was playing, and then I showed him, and we played like our first show. I don't think it was even like billed as Lucius Fox. I think I don't remember like how it was billed, but I played the show at Max Bar with him, and that was like the first time we played. And then really like that next year, 14, 15, we were just like hanging out and jamming, and maybe played like 1 or 2 shows. And a lot of it was like us kind of just like jamming on stage and doing stuff. And then probably like 15 is when we started to like really play out. And I think we probably met in 15. I'm willing to bet.
Realistically, I think that was probably our first, because like I think 2016 was when we played with each other, like our band.
Yeah, like a few times. And then like 16 and 17, I know that we were like playing together, and I was like talking to you and Tom pretty regularly about music stuff. So yeah, it was just like kind of this thing where like I had friends in Kalamazoo that played in bands, like Ben Boggs from Drink Their Blood. Like I've known him for so long. So when I was in high school, I pushed carts at Meyer, and he worked at the service desk. And so we'd like talk to each other about, or like we'd talk about metal, and like he introduced me to Baroness, and I just like, I'm super happy. Like I just like was texting him earlier, and he's going to see Baroness, the Pyramid Scheme tonight. And like I'm going to see him there. And like, so I knew him. So I knew he was doing stuff with, I think he was in a different band. I think it was pre-Drink Their Blood, or like pre him being in that band. So like having that connection and just knowing some other folks that were doing stuff in Kalamazoo, we just started to like kind of play out more. And we just kind of started doing more and more. And then, that was like kind of like you asked about like the start.
I was just asking like how long before you kind of put out that first single?
Probably about a year.
Okay. So about 2014. So you've been at it at least a good 10, 11 years now with Lucius Fox basically as a project.
Oh, but really with that song though, in particular, like that was like writing the riffs on that song, I think was like pretty huge for sort of the arc that this project would take though. Because I wrote that song visiting one of my good friends from college in California. He lived in the Bay Area at the time, and he was, I don't remember, or sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to ask if his name was Bird Boy.
It should be.
Okay.
I can get into that though too, but
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. It could be. But he had to, I was visiting him in the summer, like my first summer after like my first year of teaching, and he had to go to work. And so I was just jamming on one of his guitars, and I had seen this video of this band, TTNG. They're a math rock band, and their guitarist had like a capo. He had 2 capos on the guitar. Like I think it was like probably some open tuning. And he had 2 capos, and I was like, "Whoa, that's really cool! I want to mess around with that." But my friend Brian only had 1 capo, so I was like, "Okay, well, I'll put 1 capo on the fretboard, and then I'll leave some other strings open." And so I had like a drop B tuning initially. Then I threw a capo on like the 9th fret or the 7th fret or something. And it made this like really weird way of having some like open notes underneath it. And then I just started like writing with that. And then like that's been huge for this entire project. Like using the capo, dropping the low string, and like just kind of like making these kind of weird tunings that I feel like are distinct with this band now. But like with that song, that was like the first song that I wrote in that style. So it was pretty cool.
Okay. Oh yeah. So then you do the Where Have You Been EP.
Yeah.
And with this project, you can tell there's a real jam feel going on there.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's what I like about some of this. I love your descriptions on the Bandcamp. Like, hey, some of this is just take it for what it is. This is us jamming. This is just getting us our ideas out. And I love the fact that it's like, hey, we're going to put this out, and not everything has to be pristine, lined up to the grid, perfect. It's more about a flow and a jam and a feeling and a vibe, and that's what I just really like about your band. But yeah, so you put out the EP, right? And then Luis was still in the band here, right?
Yeah.
And then he did like the engineering and mixing.
Yeah. So like I think I tracked a lot of the guitars at home, and then he like tracked the drums at his place, and then he mixed it, and I think he did the mastering, or I don't know if we mastered it. But yeah, it was all like in-house, like that one.
Okay. And then just real quick, Sancho, super cool song. Keys, the main riff with the singing on it was super sick. And I noticed there's a lot of structure.
Yeah.
And this is where I noticed where there was structure, and then it starts to kind of go away from that afterwards.
Yeah.
Teal, super jammer, man. That pretty heavy, super badass. There's almost like a death metal part in there. Super cool. And then now on the EP it says Stay Cool. So on the single it was Stay Cool Bird Boy.
Yeah,
and then on the EP it's Stay Cool. Is there a reason why it's different?
Dude,
is that like recorded again? Was it?
It's so weird. Like I haven't thought about these songs, and so like I have this like dumb like always going forward like mindset where it's like I'm always worried about the next thing. But with that, like I think maybe I think it was like the same tracks, but maybe like we added like the vocal, or like we changed something with the vocals at the end, or maybe we mixed it differently. I don't know, but that line is like a reference to Batman and Robin. It's one of the things that Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mr. Freeze, he's like, "Stay cool, bird boy," and like, "Stay cool, bird boy." I think it was around that time I saw Pallbearer, I think in Detroit, and I ran into like the primary vocalist, guitarist of that band outside, and like they were getting ready to put out the album Heartless, but they didn't have, like, they hadn't announced it yet, and I guess they like still had songs without song titles. And so I was like talking to him about like naming songs. I was like, yeah, I got this song that's like, we don't really have a name for it, but we've been like messing around with different Batman and Robin quotes. And he was like, yeah, you should do that. And I was like, okay, cool. Vote of confidence from this guy that's really good at music.
Nice.
Then we move into the live sessions. You guys did just some live sessions. Looks like some improvisations from different days and times.
Yeah, I think we were just jamming in Luis's basement.
Yep. So just some jams. I did like Void. That was a great piece off of that. I enjoyed that. And then you move into Cement Sun. This was May 26, 2017. All songs written by Lucius Fox. And then now we have Alex in the band. So you want to tell me a little bit about that?
Same person. I think he just, okay. He just was
gotcha.
Going by a different name.
Okay.
Yeah, Jeff recorded and mixed and mastered that for us.
I've seen that. So working with Jeff, you work with Jeff on a few of these, right?
Yeah,
so, yeah. Yeah, I don't know why. Oh, I guess I wouldn't have known that. So I thought you had two different drummers, but the same guy.
Yeah, same guy.
Alex and
yeah.
Luis. Okay, cool. And then I love Caged Bird on that.
Thank you.
Solar Eyes. In that song, it's weird because it's so hard to explain your band because you guys do kind of do all of the genres in a certain kind of way. Because there's almost like this indie rock feel of this Solar Eyes song. Like there's a real, like almost some of that singer-songwriters bleeds
Yeah.
through that. Like, I'm almost hearing like some Wallflowers, like post-rock, like some, you know what I mean? Like that kind of
I'll
like
take
indie
that.
rock in there, you know? It's like, and then sometimes you'll just go into this crazy shredding stuff. So, and then you got the Keith Green song. You do some singing on that.
Of
So you're
sorts.
still doing some singing, you know, in 2017.
Yeah.
And then, man, Tunnel is just a great journey of a jam.
Thank you.
So with that, before we move into the next thing, you worked with Jeff on that.
Yeah.
It was the first time working with Jeff. Obviously, Jeff knows everybody, and
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
knows Jeff. I mean, so with that piece of work or whatever, before you went into the 2028 or the 2018, how was that? Why did you go to Jeff? And was this when you were starting to get away from the singing? Like when you were like, yeah, I think I'm going to be pretty much done singing.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
for that song, or
We'd like been starting to play some of the stuff that ended up on that live, and just like I'd gotten to know Jeff from like playing with Drink Their Blood, and then he was in another band at the time. I believe they were called What Lurks Below, and they were an instrumental, like a heavy instrumental band. And so like we just got to be buds through playing shows, and he was like, "Hey, I'm like working on recording. If you ever want, like I'll help you guys out and record." And so we were just like, "Yeah, that sounds amazing. Like it'd be cool to not have to worry about." I mean, like it's fun to self-record and doing that, but it's just like also it's kind of like a luxury to just get to focus on the performance and all that. So it was a really cool thing. It was a blast making that one, and then the next one recording at Jeff's spot.
Yeah, I thought they sounded great. I thought I love the jamminess of them. Like I said, it's hard because your music just goes on such a journey, so it's hard to say like this specific part of this song because you guys have a lot of stuff that's just like it almost just is a wall of just blows you over, you know. So then you go then you go into the Trappist, and this one was awesome, dude. This is really where I see the progression a lot in it. And then now we're getting into like the planetary like themes and stuff like that, right? I mean, you had the Cement Sun, so it was kind of coming through in that, right?
Yeah.
But then like you started really going deep into the themes of what is this with your background?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So that album was like that. I guess I wrote it, or like wrote the guitar parts for it, and like the pieces mostly in 2017. Yeah, so I was like starting to write that, and there was this really cool announcement about this small exoplanet system that was discovered like 40 light years away, orbiting this tiny little red dwarf star with like these 7 planets orbiting it, with like I think 3 or 4 of them within the habitable zone. So I was like, wow, that's really cool. And I was just really excited to show my students that and like talk about that. And I was like, wow, this would be like fun to write about. And yeah, I guess at that point, like nothing that we'd put out had been like really super conceptual outside of like maybe on the level of a song. Like this is the thing that I want to write about. But like with a lot of that earlier stuff is just like, let's like make a joke song title, or let's like we'll figure out the song title later. Like Cement Sun, like it's funny thinking about that now. Like that sounds like something that'd be like kind of astronomy based, but we didn't have a name for that song, and we were playing like the first run that we ever did, like of like out of state shows, like me and Luis, Alex. We were playing in like Bloomington, Indiana, and we're like, man, what do we call this song? Like we were like writing out the set list, and then there was like this like Cement Sun like model on the, or like it was like a piece of wall art. There was like one of those like suns with a face on it. And he was just like, why don't we call it Cement Sun? I was like, all right, cool.
Oh, okay.
Done.
So it was like,
Yeah.
So it wasn't really until this where you're like, I'm gonna kind of really
like
have a concept
conceptually and like try to like think about like how I want all of these pieces to fit together, and like having like themes that come back. And like that was a really huge experience, I think, for me, like at like leveling up like my writing and like thinking like big picture with a release.
I really love it as a listener because you don't have the vocals to tell you anything that's going on. I can sit there, and I was doing this last night. I was like, oh, oh, there's read more. Click the button. Oh my God.
There's a lot.
And I'm like, this is so awesome. I was like smiling ear to ear. I'm like, this is great. Like, this is really thought out and
Thanks
meaningful.
for clicking it.
Yeah, no, I read one of them out loud to my wife. I was like, listen to this. These guys don't sing, but they've got the story right here. And I'm like, that's great. I mean, now I'm super excited about it. It's also the caffeine's working.
Let's go.
For real. But I'm like, man, if I had like the CD, if I had the jacket, I would sit here and just vibe, and just read these stories. And I'm like, these are so well thought out. And it's like, it gives so much more meaning to it. Like, I really do feel like I'm going on a journey. Your music's already a journey, but now you're giving it like way more context and more specific, thoughts. Like, you can think about anything you want, listening to the music and let your thoughts run, but you're like, we're here with it. This is where I wanted to like tell my story, and this is the inspiration. I just loved it as like a listener. I'm like, oh, here we go. He's got like the whole thought out like storyline going here. So I thought that was really great for a non-vocalist 2-piece band. I was like, yeah,
Thank you.
We can really appreciate this in this neck of the woods. So cheers to that stuff. That's really cool.
I think it also puts almost some visual, like you can see some visual things in your mind when you're listening to the music. If you're reading the story and the theme behind it, you're like almost traveling through this planet or whatever. I'm like, what a great way to encapsulate that without having the vocals or having like, here's the lyrics but no one sings them type thing. It's like I just love the story part myself about, at least it gives it some meaning instead of, hey, this is called Bird Boy Dick Fart.
Yeah.
No, I'm also like
beyond.
I've said this a lot of times on the show. Like I'd like to consider myself a fan of like the highbrow, like take myself seriously type of music. So like, I don't mind the humorous stuff. I appreciate it fine, but I'll always gravitate more toward the things where it's like, well, the jokes stop when I turn on the amp and I'm ready to play because I take my craft seriously.
Yeah.
And and again, I'm fine with all that other stuff. It's really not a problem for me. Like, if you got a sense of humor, I can appreciate that. But just for my own personal taste, I just love it when people are like dialed in, focused on being serious, not just on the musical front of their instruments, but also the art presentation's got to look a certain kind of way. It's got to be glossy and, serious.
Packaged
it's just like, I just take that stuff so seriously too, where I can really appreciate it and smile more like, they're speaking to me. And I like look at the artwork and I'm like Jay was saying, it gives you a visual. I like stay in that picture and I bounce around in the color, whatever you presented to me. If it's a red giant, I'm like, oh man, this is like really intense. Like, this thing is exploding and growing. I get it. Like, and I'm just, I ride with the artwork too. You guys have some really great artwork in your catalog.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So just with the Trappist or whatever, just real quick, the Trappist, Violent Horizon, great mood on that. So did you start introducing keys on the Trappist?
So actually, no. Like, it sounds like it on some parts.
Yeah.
But I got this Electro Harmonics like synth emulator that I used like a decent amount on that because I'd just gotten it, and it sounds like very true to like a synthesizer. So there's no like keyboard synthesizer on that album, but there's like definitely quite a bit of parts that like sound like a synth because it's like a guitar emulating a synthesizer.
Okay.
But yeah, I got that like right around the time I was writing for that, and I really wanted to have that kind of like retro futuristic sort of like synthwave sort of feel to it. So it was like the ideas were there, but I just didn't have the big red guy yet.
Okay. So Trappist E is very unsettling, but it's great all the way through. I really enjoyed Title Lock, and then the Trappist F is just fucking amazing, dude. Like,
Thank you.
Just like the whole journey was great. But I just love the voyage through the whole thing, man. You write some awesome soundscapes. Like, these things can be soundtracks to like scientific, documentaries or something that like sometimes, I swear to God, this shit is so cool, dude. But you did have a different drummer on this one.
Yep.
Now this isn't Louise, Alex, Jonathan Fleming, is it?
A man of many names. This different guy.
Dude, you've had 8 drummers now. It's the same guy, dude. He just changes his name every album.
By album, yeah. No, Luis just just as happens as we get older, like he just wasn't able to keep doing it regularly, and I wanted to keep doing it regularly. And so he had to step back from the band, but at that point I was playing in another band called Hybrid State that had started as a 2-piece, but had like ballooned into a 4-piece where I was playing kind of lead guitar in that band. And John plays, they're still kind of active. Like we played a show with them back in the fall, but they both have like young kids and stuff, or him and the drummer of that band, or him and the guitarist of that band. So they're just not as able to play out as they used to. But I've been playing with him in that band, and Alex was like, yeah, I can't really do this anymore. I was like, fuck. I just was trying to book a tour for us. I want to keep doing this. So I like hit up John, and he was like, yeah, dude, I'd love to play drums with you. So we played together for probably about a year and a half. And then he's a fantastic drummer, really good dude, and like made this thing happen. And then kind of the same thing where he was really busy and just like with like work scheduling and like taking care of his kids. It was too much to like go at it as hard as like I wanted to. And then me and Paul had been like playing in another project and knew each other, and like our jams in that other project I felt like had been like getting weirder and weirder, and I was like
progressing towards Lucius Fox stuff.
Hey, can you put that up towards you a little bit,
yeah.
buddy? Thank you. That way I just want to be able to hear you.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, so this is kind of where I mean, I guess the good news is you only have to replace one member.
Yeah.
The bad news is it's 50%
of the band. Yeah.
Can't go without them.
50% of the band's gone.
You need a lot more pedals and synth just to replace them, you know? So
talking about touring real quick, just before we get on to the next album, is this something you just plan around your profession? So it's a summertime tour. You're not like asking for time off? Or?
For the most part, we've like the past couple of years, we've done some like during the school year, but I guess like still it's kind of like it's been mostly like around times where I have like time built-in time off. We did a short run with Vidaken a couple months ago, and it was like it butted up to my spring break, so that made it easier for sure.
Right. You're not having to take time out of the classroom, like
and like if we were ever in a position to where like if we like had an offer to do like a short like cool run or something, I'd like throw in this. I'd make it work, like as long as it was like feasible and not like me like truly abandoning my job. But like I really like music a lot, and I put a lot of energy into being a good teacher too. So I feel like if my admin would probably understand if I had like a really cool opportunity to do something in the short term.
That's good. We're always big proponents of like the supportive job environment. Like you want to have a good relationship with your job so that you can do the tour.
Yeah.
So, like you don't want to have to quit a job for the tour and come back and now you don't have a
to
job.
Figure it out.
Yeah, right. Like,
yeah.
I wouldn't really advocate for that. So I was just wondering, I figure like a teacher, you'd probably be doing like spring break and summer.
Yeah.
But also if you're good at it and you've been doing it for a while and you've got the rapport with your administration, you'd say like, hey, this opportunity came up. Can we get a sub for a week? Is that something we could figure out? Like if you had an advance notice, like, you could make that work. That's cool. That's good.
So it came out with this album, played a few shows or whatever. Like I said, this is kind of, I feel you were starting to really develop your sound on this. But then 2020, January 17th, you release Quantitary Panorama.
Yeah.
And now we introduce
the man.
Alex, Louise,
welcome
Jonathan,
to the show.
Fleming, Paul, Joseph Drake the second / Junior.
Paul Joseph Drake Jr. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome to the show, Paul.
Hey, thanks for joining us. Good to have you.
No, so now this is where you come in. You were saying that you guys, you were jamming a different project. You were alluding to that earlier, and then it just kind of
I really just kind of fell into place, I guess. Because I had, like I said, I was in a punk band with some friends from my hometown. We'd played with Lucius Fox when Alex was playing probably a handful of shows. I think like 2 or 3 times maybe. And then I don't think we played for a couple months. And then next time we played, John was there. And that's when we just went on a run where it was like, oh, we played with you a bunch. Like, I think we had another like 6 or 7 shows within like 8 to 10 months.
Okay.
Whereas like they were just on the bill.
Sweet.
Lucius Fox was on the bill with us.
Huh,
so
love those guys.
Yeah. Well, it really just like became a report. And then being a drummer, whenever you hear a guitarist or a bassist too, but like another part of a band where you're like, holy crap, the parts that he's writing, you're just thinking, what would I write to that? So like whenever I saw them, like I was in a punk band, so nothing against punk. I love punk. I still brought the same energy. We all screamed our asses off and played as hard as we could, especially Tom. You know, it's not like we were just like, we want to be aggressive. We might want to scare some people.
Sure.
Let's go. So like energy was there, but it was always just like, hey, I'm just going to beat the shit out of my drums.
Right.
Which is fine. But this was like, dude, I had,
you can
what's
explore,
the timing of
right?
I'm just like, when you don't know what you're going to write, the second you hear something, it's like, oh, and I'm not saying like anything, but like a lot of pop stuff, punk stuff, it's okay. I got the beat pretty quick. It would be something like this. This is just like, I think I have to listen to the whole song to figure out timing of parts because this is changing like every other one.
Yeah. So you wanted the challenge. You wanted to develop your skills.
Yeah, we were all like, I think we were already kind of, he was definitely more heavy and more progressive as what he listened to, at least like right when we started hanging out. But still, we listened to a lot of very different stuff.
Sure.
And then we started jamming on a project that he started as a solo project and it was more folky.
It's kind of like
It's
the
called
same art.
Portraiture. Yeah, but it was funny because it literally
cooler.
became like, hey, I got a mandolin part in this. And then like very shortly after it was like, oh, this is getting progressive and
What if we
heavier
used
and this
two
and that.
bass amps and like
Yeah, it was more of like, hey, let's start adding stuff. Let's get louder. Let's change this. Let's make this a weirder part. And it quickly became very different than what it started
Sure.
as. And then his buddy Brian, there's a 3-piece. He was playing bass in it. I don't know how long we were doing that, but then
Like a
John
yeah.
had to step away from Lucius Fox, and he asked me that, and it wasn't that I didn't want to do Portraiture stuff, but it was like, it was kind of, as a drummer, I felt like this was a level up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like being like, okay, like Portraiture is awesome and fun. Lucius Fox is
Whatever.
going to be awesome, fun, challenging. Like as far as as me in a drummer mindset, I was like, this is, I think, everything that I could ever want in a band.
Okay.
So as I'm listening to their band, I'm thinking, it sounds to me like you guys are always trying to not just develop your style, but also push your skill ceiling. Like, is that a major component of it for you? Like, as you're writing, it's like, I don't just want to write this part fast or intricate, but I want to play like almost the hardest thing I'm capable of playing. Is that like a Jeremy agrees 110 here. Paul, same, like just the way you go at it. Like,
well, we have a saying because like a lot of people either ask like, what, how do you describe your sound or this or that, and a lot of it's we hit as many notes and as many beats as possible, like as many blast beats as possible. It's
For as long as
like,
possible.
Yeah.
yes, it's exaggerated. Obviously, that's not exactly what we're doing, but
it's part of
it
it.
is enjoyable to leave, be done with a set and then have people that you don't know come up to you and be like, I've never seen shit like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, cool.
Yeah.
Like not being like, kind of like, cool. Like that's what we kind of want to do.
Mission
We at least want to
accomplished
show
kind of
some
thing.
people like what is going on.
It left it all out on the stage.
Yeah.
There's no question about the musicianship after you watch it. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, these fucking guys,
And
like, they're so good.
I will at least say I've definitely listened to a lot heavier stuff as of joining. Like I was into some heavy stuff, but
Sure.
he's definitely changed. And like my style from beginning of Lucius Fox to now is
It's crazy.
definitely very different.
Mm-hmm.
And it's along with like challenging ourselves. It's just him writing parts. That's a challenge on its own. Cause like I'm good at coming up with parts in my head
Sure.
that are like, that's probably what I want to play. And then I have to stop and I'm like, I don't know if I can play it at that BPM right now.
Right.
So it's either, hey, I'm going to use this as a fill-in so we can practice this.
Sure.
I have to practice that part and hopefully in a week or two I can actually play what I want to play.
Okay.
But a lot of it's, hey, I got this, we'll jam on it. I'll write parts that I can play and then
Sure.
I'll work on parts that I can't quite play and we'll try and get them there.
I love that. I
That's
love
awesome.
I love that spirit.
Yeah.
Like just kind of knowing like, okay, that your part's awesome. My part's going to take a minute to complement your part.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like I love the idea of like taking it home and elevating your game just to make the song what it's supposed to be. Like instead of just settling in on, because there's no room for pocket beats. You're not in the pocket drummer. Could you be? Obviously, yes.
I was about to say there are tiny sections where we do have a pretty part or something where it's like, okay,
yeah,
I can do this for a little bit.
Little
All
restraint.
right, now we're back to this. It's never like, hey, here's a whole song where it's just we're
chaos.
chilling.
Yeah.
So, when you guys had the other project, that thing just kind of went by the wayside. Then, when you joined Lucius Fox, or did some of that morph into the stuff you were writing? I mean, what did that look like? I guess because I just kind of want to understand how the transition happened.
So, like, I think it was kind of like I was writing this stuff when, like, Lucius Fox was still active, but I wasn't able to like get together with John as much. So I was writing some mellower stuff, and then I just like I wanted to play a show and like play that stuff, and so we got together this band. And actually, Alex, John, Paul, he actually played guitar in that project for one show.
I was about to say,
So we were a 4-piece for I think
Louis?
one.
In the back,
with Barry's band.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were a 4-piece.
Was that the Dead Flames back then, or was it?
Maybe.
I'm not sure which.
I don't know.
Just Portager, you mean?
Yeah, Portager.
Okay.
So we, I think maybe we, like the initial iteration, it was a 4-piece with like 2 guitars, drums and bass. My friend Brian, playing bass, the best bass player that I know. Fantastic bassist, absolute monster, songwriter, singer, bassist. And so we did that, and then like Luis couldn't. He just was busy, so he wasn't able to keep doing it. So it just became the 3 of us, and we played probably shows for maybe a year, kind of like playing this like kind of folky music, but we were all playing it like with electric instrumentation, and then all of us liked jamming, and it just kind of kept getting more kind of like out there and psychedelic. And then Brian started bringing in some of his songs, and then the songs that we were playing were just kind of different, and it was jammy. And then Brian just like me and Brian were talking about like maybe start like not having it be that band anymore, because it was like quite a bit different from what it started out as, and starting a different band that was more kind of centered on his songs. And so we were doing that, and then like everything happened with John, and I'm like, yo, Paul, do you want to play in Lucius Fox? And then it just kind of like the one band kind of became 2 bands, and then I was playing with both of those bands for a while. So that became a band called Celestial that I played with for about 5 years.
Oh, okay. So it was just a different project.
Yeah.
And then were you still playing in that too, or no?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I switched
So
pretty much just to Lucius Fox,
Okay.
and then Celeste Allison played for a while. There
was like a progression.
Went through like a lot of different people for a while. But yeah, they were sick. They had what album? The album release. It
was kind of wild. I played with the band for a really long time, and then I recorded like the first like true album. And it was just like an accumulation of like 5 or 6 years, or maybe even more than that. I mean, like Brian had been working on some of the songs for a long time, but like just a number of years of writing and stuff. And then we recorded it, and then I just ended up like, I was trying to kind of just like cut down on commitments and stick to one thing and just be in one band. So I ended up like leaving that band, but I got to play the album release, which was like last January of 2024.
Yeah, which we played with.
And then we played with them for our album release,
Yeah.
which was kind of cool. But I didn't play that one. But
it was funny because when they played, it was, I think there were 2 songs.
you were like, oh
That-
yeah, I used to play on that song.
When we started out,
different
it was a
project,
song,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
it was like, oh, this is hilarious. I'm like, I remember it. I'm like, oh, that's the drum beat that I played. Okay, change that. Oh, this is completely.
Yeah.
So like, I heard some old songs where it's like, okay, you completely got rid of this section, and this one's different. And I was like, it was pretty cool to just be like,
Interesting.
Oh.
Have that.
yeah, the
Behind the
different
curtain
iteration of like
knowledge.
5 years ago.
Yeah,
That was the
yeah,
last
yeah.
time I heard it.
So now, Paul, that you're in the band on this album, now how have things changed then? Because I would say, just by listening, your skill set is like, to me, I can't spit out the word right now. We'll just say your skill ceiling is higher than the previous drummers, I would say. At least by, I don't know their skill, but just by listening or what you're pushing.
I'll at
You
least
know.
say I think it was with what they had going on versus what I had going on. They both had families starting up, doing stuff, and I was just literally working a bar job and music.
Yeah.
Like that was
Yeah.
all I had. So like that when he asked, like that's why I was like, I have all the time in the world to
Yeah.
practice,
Yep.
play. So I think that was definitely part of it. And then to being new, like all the stuff that's on the first album, obviously, is like that was right from the get. It was he had a few things that we started working on, and I never played anything written by anybody else.
Right.
It was, hey, I have
Just
this
new
write
stuff.
a new part or jam to make it through some stuff if we had shows. But yeah, it was that, and then like just being in a new project and super excited about it.
Yeah,
I think that was just another just a fire
Yeah.
lit under me. Where it's like, holy shit, I got to step up. Like that's what I felt. Is like I got to be up here now.
Yeah, it sounds like you already had that energy from like the punk band where you wanted to just kind of go crazy, but now you had like way more room to do things outside of just your boxed in punk beats.
Mm-hmm.
You could just really let it fly, lock in with what he's doing, take it home, let it simmer, write better parts, and just
Yeah.
And,
Well,
and
I
like
mean,
you
a
said,
lot of it.
that was the only thing you really wanted to do and had going on. So you
Mhm.
could really take your time and flesh those things out. Then I have a wife or a kid to really worry about and spend other time doing other things, other hobbies. You're just like, I play drums, I serve drinks, and then I go and I play some more fucking drums.
Yeah.
Like, and that sounds like that's the guy you want to have in a band, like
Yeah.
as your drummer.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
So with this stuff though, is this all new together? You got in the band, you guys just started writing all this together, or did you have a lot of these ideas like kind of in the bridge of when Paul was coming in?
I think I was starting to write like songs from like I had the idea for this album. Like with the last one, I'd gotten to the groove of like doing like kind of like the overarching concept thing, and like I've always loved like prog rock and like prog metal and stuff. So I was like, I felt pretty like good coming off of that last one, like having like achieved that. But I was like, all right, now I just want to do it better and like level it up. And so I had this idea for that album, and so I was like starting to write for that, and then I just remember like bringing some of those to Paul and just like immediately just like them exploding and just like getting way better. And then that like inspiration and that coolness just kind of like driving the rest of the writing. And like with that album, I had like a definite like arc in mind of like parts or like songs that I wanted to include in it, and like just kind of the ideas that I wanted to convey musically. So I had some stuff coming into it, but then I was just like very much just like pushed and excited about like just how cool everything was sounding. And then it was just, I think we kind of like jammed on and wrote for like less than a year. Like we were just playing out as much as possible. And then we did like an out of state run that, or I guess it would have been in 2019. We started at the very end of 2018, like Paul and I, and then we recorded in 2019 and then put it out like at the very beginning of 2020 before everything went crazy.
So
you squeezed one out before
yeah,
the
squeeze one
old
out real quick.
pandemic.
Right.
Yeah, it's really weird to think about that now.
Like I
They
think
were
literally
kinda
what,
removed
like
from
2
it.
months,
Yeah.
2 months before.
But it was like a really cool night. It was so Paul and I's birthdays are like one day apart, like
Oh,
same
nice.
same year,
Nice.
but like,
January 18th and 19th, and that
Oh,
was
that's
what the
cool.
17th.
but I remember we got to play this really cool show with Throne.
Oh, nice.
Hell
Like
yeah.
in Kalamazoo, we played a house show with them,
Oh, yeah.
and
The house stand.
Jesus Christ.
it was no,
Still standing.
barely. It was a really weird. So it was a rental in the Vine neighborhood.
I used to live out there.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't really have a lot of shows at this spot. I think it became something else in the past few years, but the basement was like almost like an industrial kitchen, and then like there was this small room, like the space where we played and Throne played was like very, very small. So it was like packed in there, and it was in the summer. But it was a good time. But anyway, like somehow like we were talking outside and realized that our birthdays were like right back to back, and I was like, oh, I wonder what day that is. And it was like a Saturday to Sunday. So we at that time Shakes was like, I mean they're back into doing
Yeah.
shows now, but they'd gone away for a while. That was like the heyday of like the Shakespeare shows.
Right.
And we were just like, we reached out to Chuck, the guy that was booking at the time, like, hey, could we book this show that's in like 6 months? And he was like, yeah, there's absolutely nothing on the agenda. And then it ended up like working out to be like perfect for like an album release show. So we
Sweet.
played with a bunch of friends, and there was a really good turnout, and there was like a blizzard, and it was crazy, but it was an amazing night. It was a really good night.
Oh yeah.
I love those Kalamazoo house shows. There's a lot of basements out there in Kalamazoo.
Yeah.
Like every house has got a fucking basement. So like you can, like if you know people that are willing and able to have a house party, like Kalamazoo's got a cool scene for that. Seemingly has always, but it's just a matter of what's in. When I was living in Kalamazoo, it didn't seem like actual bands were a thing. So we're talking about early aughts, maybe 03 to 08. I don't really feel like they're. I mean, sure, yeah, but it just wasn't a thing. I think wasn't as popular then.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of a resurgence of actual bands performing again in these last couple of years, last decade even.
So just finishing up with this this album, the Quaternary. It says all sounds made by guitar and drums. I see you kind of emphasize that on that. Because there are definitely some stuff that sounds like keys on there big time.
For sure.
Like on Human Summer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's a part where it's like, I swear that's keys, but he did say it's all made by guitar and drums. I trust the guy, man. I do.
Yeah. No, Rage Against the Machine they did that on like some of their albums. Like, and I always thought that was cool. Like when I was like little and first learning guitar and really like getting into like riffs and Rage Against the Machine and Tom Morello and stuff like that, I was like, oh, that's so sick. They did all that with just guitar, bass, and drums. And so I was like, yeah, we did this all with guitar and drums. Like there's no bass. There's it sounds like a synthesizer, but it's a synth pedal with like a lot of reverb and delay and stuff on it. But yeah, that's all guitar and drums.
Organic.
So Carved by Glaciers, it's kind of just that doomy heavy. I just put wow because that song was awesome, man.
Thank you. We got to play that again.
Dude, it's funny. There's so many songs that it's just like, oh, we haven't played that in like literally years.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys about that too. So just real quick, Laurentide 2, melody is fantastic. Sunset Jams, that one's just got a pack full of great riffs in that one. Extinction Rebirth goes super hard. This starts to me when some of the unhinged stuff comes in. Yeah. And it's funny because you say that, or when you said that earlier, how he had the heavier taste from like listening to all this music and then going from almost some of that indie rock songwriter stuff. I was thinking you were the guy that came in that was the death metal guy, because when you came in, it was when you really started going off on some of the guitar stuff. So I thought you were the one that was like, hey man, check out this fucking death metal, because sometimes you'll be going into grinds and stuff and I'm like, must have been Paul, not Jeremy, but I mean, I don't, well, it's just funny how you never know, and that's why I love talking to bands, because you might assume something, but
I mean, both of the previous drummers are both really good, and really good musicians and good dudes. But I think a lot of it just kind of came down to like the types of stuff that like Paul like could play and was willing to play, and like willing to just be like, I'm gonna do the most absurd shit possible, and like that just like I think like I don't know, like I was listening to heavy music when I was like writing the other stuff too, and like but I was like, oh, I can actually do some pretty nasty heavy stuff, and like Paul's there for it.
Nice.
That's awesome, because this is when it starts. Obviously it helps with getting Paul in the band and being able to do those things, but I was like, okay, this is when the train's really rolling here, but after the clean passage is absolutely incredible. And then you guys go into the jam, and then there's like just a really cool drums at the end of that song. So obviously then we're in pandemic time. You released an album, but then you turn right around and you come out in 2021 with like an EP, right? 3 songs, Red Giant.
Yeah.
And now this is a little different because this is almost, dare I say, fantasy in a little bit.
Kinda, yeah.
Not as like directly science, more maybe like science fiction themed, right?
Kinda like yes and no. I came up with the ideas for those songs when I was working on my master's, and I was reading this book about like science philosophy and like early science, and then I was also taking a class on evolution, and so I learned about the Claw of Archimedes in that like philosophy of science class, which was the Claw of Archimedes was actually this like grappling hook thing that they would shoot from the city walls, and like it would like grab ships and like pull them down and like sink them, which I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Dramatic.
Write a song about that. And then the Basilosaurus was a whale, actually, even though it sounds like a dinosaur name. But I read about, like, there was a chapter in this book on evolution that I read that the Basilosaurus was this gnarly prehistoric, like massive whale that was like just a monster carnivore. And then I don't know. I just like I've always thought like astronomy and stuff was cool. So like that's where the Red Giant end of it came in. So like with that one, it was a little bit different because it was like here are 3 distinct ideas that are not like conceptually tied to each other, but just like very much their own individual things.
Okay, so that all right. I misread that. I didn't realize that the what is it?
Basilosaurus.
Basilosaurus.
Yeah.
We have a lot of names that sometimes you're like, wait, what is this?
What is that
I
nonsense?
didn't realize that was a real thing. For some reason, I
Yeah,
thought it was
no.
like a creature that was living on the red giant. So
Oh,
that's,
no, I mean,
that's
yeah, like,
kinda why I
that
thought
would be
science
sick.
fiction.
Now we need to write a new
Art-wise,
EP
yeah.
about the Basilosaurus living on
Yeah.
the red giant. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Maybe they're not extinct. Maybe they're out
They
there
just
somewhere. Yeah.
That's what I would like. I must have read it. I must
no,
have just read
no,
it
you're
wrong. So maybe it's so. But yeah, so it's just 3 different things. It must have been you guys were coming out of the pandemic.
Yeah,
You're still
so we were
writing,
like-
or
We like I think initially we were getting together pretty regularly, but like just being cautious and like I don't know, like we were just keeping our circles small and like masking and stuff. And then for a while we like took a break, and then we kind of quickly like we kind of got back at it, but we were just being careful and like taking the precautions that were recommended. But we were like, I was writing a bunch because I had time to do it, which was really cool. But like we kind of wrote those songs and like some of the songs from the next full length, or like I was writing them at the same time, and like we had them like around the same time. But I had this idea for like kind of like the overarching concept of the next thing, and then these were just like let's just write some bangers that are just like quick and riffy, not like 30 minutes long.
Right.
And then it was really fun recording it. We recorded that as well as the previous one.
Solastalgia.
And then
next,
Solastalgia with our buddy Brendan Infante, who's a very talented engineer, very talented drummer, very talented guitarist. But yeah, it was a blast, and it was like probably the quickest recording that we've ever done. I
Oh,
think
yeah,
we
for
just
the-
like
for
went in
Red,
for a
yeah.
weekend and we were done, that's insane. Like now thinking
cool.
about that, like it took me so long to finish the guitars for the thing we just finished.
I
So-
really liked Red Giant. I'm sorry, I just wanted to
Oh,
jump in
go
and say
ahead,
that like the first
Thank
two were very almost chaotic and fast and blistering, but then I felt like Red Giant was something that was more massaged and carefully orchestrated, and it had a lot more tension release, you know,
Yeah.
and clarity. Where I don't know if it was deliberate on your part, but it wasn't like all animal on the drums all the time. Like you could take it there, but there was just a lot more space with some of the riffs to breathe. And also, Jeremy, I felt like your riffage was a little bit more deliberate, where you were just like, I'm not going crazy here, but this is just like a part that I really like and I really wanted to play. So Red Giant really stood out to me as I listened to it. I was like, this song I want to hear again, like right now. Just play it back for me one more time. So
you.
that piece was really good, in contrast to the other two, which I enjoyed because they are your style very much through and through. But I thought Red Giant was like, oh, okay, this is like almost different than the other two, if you will. But I really appreciated that song on
Thank
its
you.
own merits. I thought it was just delicious, and I want to enjoy that one again. And maybe I'll make a Lucius Fox compilation after this.
Let's
That one's
go.
going on there.
Yeah, thank you.
Red Giant was a great jam.
Yeah, I really
love the
appreciate it.
drums where you kind of like hit some bells with the harmonics, kind of like at the end, like really tie in that tightness. That really stood out. It was a great part. And then we move on 2022. I mean, you guys are pretty prolific as far as like coming out with stuff all the time. So I mean, that's great. Like being active as a band, I guess it helps when there's two guys and
It's the
you're just getting
two-piece
the,
beauty.
getting the work done. You know.
Yep.
But this is Solastalgia, right?
Yeah.
And this came out August 19th, 2022. You have now this is where you got some synth.
Yeah. Synth
There is
Yes.
now we got some
I
vocals.
can't say that thing anymore.
Yep. Now look at
You
you.
got
Banjo,
some
too.
banjo. Paul on the guitar, huh?
Yeah.
For one of the songs,
Interesting.
it was funny because like when we had a release show at Bell's for that, and we kind of knew we're just like, cool, that song, that's going to be probably the only time that we ever play this live, because it was just there was so much where friends were doing horns. I had a section where I played guitar, so it's like I have to bring a different guitar and a different guitar amp, and then they're singing. It was just like there's so much that we don't normally do
Yeah.
on
Right.
just that one that it's like album release. We can do it. It'll be awesome.
Yeah.
That'll probably be the only time.
I actually
Here and there.
I really like that as an idea to draw people. Like, hey, you're not going to see us perform this again.
Mhm.
We're going to come out and do the album front to back, and there's going to be some special things that going forward are not going to be available to you because we just simply can't bring it out all the time.
Mhm.
I really love that as an idea for bands listening, like to be able to have a collab or extra musicians on something where it's like, yeah, we just bring out the horn section one time for the album release party. That's a really clever idea and stroke of genius, honestly. Like, yeah, if you got friends willing to back you up like that, I'd say do that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it helps. One, he's been Kalamazoo music in like industry. I want to say scene
Yeah.
for a long time. The industry.
In the industry.
No, but like, so that helps. And then
Yeah.
I moved out to Kalamazoo a long time ago, and then moved again. But like, just being in bands for that long and playing with other bands,
Yeah.
that's what
Going
really.
to
Yeah,
shows
when you
and-
just start
yeah.
getting connections, you're like,
Yep.
we really dig what you're doing.
Yeah.
You dig what you're doing. So
Yeah.
it's just like when you find that mutual, and it's like, hey, we should try and do something
That's cool.
at some point.
I really like that.
Yeah. And I see our homie Blake mastered this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was the first one. Yeah, that was the first one that
Yep.
he did for us.
And then
So
yeah, you
looks-
did.
And then, yeah, and I think like as long as he's up for it, like he'll probably be our mastering engineer for forever.
Yeah, he does good work.
He does really good work.
Yeah, so this one, has Ben Boggs on it, different musicians just on some of the different tracks or whatever. But I really like this one. To me, this is where you guys like are at your heaviest, or at least start displaying acts of your heavy. But this is kind of your last full length, right?
Yeah.
Because the one after this is just a shorter, almost like EP, I guess. I mean, you still have
I
a long song on there, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's around 30 minutes,
I
but
was
it's
gonna
5
say,
songs.
Yeah, I don't.
30.
So it's so we're like
so it's kind of in between
Yeah,
an
yeah.
EP and LP.
that's what I say. It's
mini-
an EP for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this one I just got like heavy now. That's what I put because there's a lot more heaviness going on here. The album starts, it's just like chaos kind of, and then it goes into good heavy jams and then some soft chords. That's kind of you guys' thing where you just take us all over the spectrum. The Human Sea Lamprey. Fuck, dude, there's like this crazy like Dillinger almost like fucking weird,
Yeah.
noisy sounding fast shit. I'm like, okay, boys, this is you.
I do have to-
Now you're speaking my language. A lot
Yeah,
more,
yeah.
like,
I don't want to like stop or interrupt, but like
No,
at
go
least
ahead.
that song, because like that's by far our shortest like
Regular
heavy song.
rotation
Yeah, like
Yeah.
so
song,
it's really easy to throw that in when we're like, we got a 35 minute song. Where we're at? Oh, we're 27. Throw that in.
Throw
It's
that
just
one
like we can just throw this brick wall
Yeah.
of noise in
Yeah.
at something like at Bells. That's
It's
what we
always fun to
started
play,
with.
yeah.
So like
Hey.
it's if depending on where we're playing, because if we're playing with lighter bands, you kind of want to
Yeah,
slowly
sure.
bring them
Maybe
into
not.
it.
Yeah.
But if it's like, hey, we're playing with all freaking heavy hitter like crazy, it's like we can start with that and
Yeah.
immediately it just and
Yeah.
you're like, whoa, this is what's happening.
That's a great song. Winter. There. Now, before somewhere like when we were doing the reaction for this, I read black metal somewhere in a descriptor or something.
Yeah.
Just because I'm sure it's hard to peg your band
Yeah.
in any which way.
Yeah, sure.
But this was the one where I was like, okay,
There it
I
is.
do hear some of
Yeah,
that
yeah,
black
yeah,
metal
yeah.
on this Winter. Plus, it's winter, kind of goes with black
Yeah,
metal. You
yeah.
know what I mean? But I just put fucking strong. Boys, sick song. That's what I
Thank
wrote
you.
down for a note because that song is badass.
Thank you so much.
Not just because of the black metal part. The whole thing is badass. I just kept going, whoa. And I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. It's
I'm really proud of that. So we still play that one pretty regularly too.
I feel like that's both of us. It's one of our favorites. It's
Okay.
just
Okay.
it's heavy.
Oh, I got
and
one
out of the
right,
gate-
Nick.
There you go. They actually like one that you
yeah,
like.
Yeah, every band, I'm like, I love that song. You're like, that's our least favorite
Like,
song.
we
I'm
don't like playing that
fuck
at
me. Finally found a band that I like one of their ones they actually like.
No, yeah, that one.
That's,
I feel like too. That's a pretty good like mood setter of like most of the shows we play are with heavier
Okay.
bands, and it's a very good kind of pretty quick. You're kind of like, what's going on? Then just like kind of like Sea Lamprey, just not as aggressive right at the beginning,
Right.
and it has a little bit more where it is a little like this, but it's pretty heavy throughout, and you're like, okay.
And then you got Spring. Synth part goes crazy badass on that. I love that. Solastalgia towards the end. There's a great melody. And are you doing like some sweeping in there?
yeah, there's
Yeah, that's fucking
yeah, there's
awesome,
a little bit of that
dude.
going on. Thank you.
And I love how that part came in after all this other music that I listened to because you're not like, hey, watch me fucking jack off on the guitar. You know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
like, I can do that and I'll put it in when necessary,
Yeah.
but I'm not just sweeping and tapping all the time.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
And that's what I liked about it. I was
Thank
like,
you.
it makes that unique because you could rest on that, like, hey, look at me, I can do this in every song, and then it just loses its impact, right? So when you kind of pull that off, I'm like, Okay, boy.
Thanks,
I see
man.
You. I see you.
It's hard. I love all of the like shreddy stuff, and like but I also like sometimes there's like a little bit of like sterility to it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's, and it's just
Oh, yeah.
like, yeah, you played all these notes, but like not to sound like a like boomer, but like where's the feel? Like
No,
like I feel
you're
like
onto something
I'd
there.
rather like be like more lumped in with a band like Converge than like Dream Theater or
Right,
something.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
That makes
like,
perfect sense.
they're both really good in different ways, but like one band like shreds really hard while like throwing down incredibly hard while
Yeah.
people are moving, and that's like more I feel like the spirit of what we do.
Yeah. Instead of just wanking away all the time.
Yeah.
It's also impressive pulling those sweeps out like with your tone, because you don't max gain.
No.
You don't have like the distortion max
Dude.
out. So like that's one thing I'm noticing as I'm listening to you. I'm like, he's got almost a, now you talk about minimalist, like you have almost a minimal gain setting on your distortion, so it's borderline clean.
hard.
So if you're pulling out
It's so
sweeps
hard.
with that tone, I'm like,
Right.
that's
Yeah,
tough. Like
exactly.
that's good work.
But man, what a great album.
Yes.
You guys really put out some sweet shit on this, dude.
Yeah.
And then of course then we'll just go into
Well, you got to talk about the singing.
oh, we kind of touched on that about
Yeah.
being the only singing song because you just
Sure.
put that in
Yeah.
at the end.
Oh,
there.
and it is. And it is.
Yeah,
Okay, I see. It's
yeah,
listed
it's
as
part 2 or whatever.
Yeah,
So
that was really nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciated that. I was like, oh, I figured I just wanted to speak to it myself. Like, it was nice at the end of the album. It was a nice, like, totally different track almost because, hey, we're going to end this thing with vocals, like, you know, almost like 50 minutes of music and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden vocals out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, I'm almost dozing at this point. I'm listening to the album, you know, I'm in bed. I'm like, I'm going to consume this album front to back right now. And then I just like, your voice comes in and I'm like, hello, who's here? And also, you know, like, I know you said you maybe don't consider yourself a great vocalist or whatever, but I absolutely love these vocals. I was like, is this a guest?
Thanks.
And then to find out it's you, and I'm like, oh, this guy can sing too. Get this fucking guy. No, Jeremy,
thank you. I appreciate it.
no, really good vocals. I
Thanks.
mean, yeah, really smooth. I really appreciated it, like as a one-off track on that album. After that
you.
whole journey, then you sing me a little lullaby there. I was like, this is fucking good.
Thank you.
So kudos on that. That was really great.
And then you guys dropped the LP, EP, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, this is
2023. How do you say that?
Medicia.
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 I usually say Medicia. I don't know.
Medicia.
I'm
Well, that's
probably
probably
wrong. I don't know.
Sidereal.
I've only read it. Like I've never heard anybody else say it.
Yeah. So, another like planetary concept type thing,
Yeah.
right? Because I remember Nick and I were kind of really into it when you guys sent us the track, and this is how we were introduced to you guys. But I mean, I feel like this is a progression from the 2022 album,
Yeah.
Solastalgia. So you could still see the arc, but I feel like it's a good place where you left off, where you're just kind of even pushing that envelope a little bit more, even. Because I noticed, like on the song "Low," what's the one song?
Ganymede. Yeah.
Ganymede. That song's just nuts. It's another just kind of like there's a lot of like kind of notes, a lot of chaos going on. But then like "Low," there's a little bit of chaos at 138. Loved it, but it was kind of melodic. And then you
I-O.
kind of Lio, is that what it is?
Io.
Okay. And then you guys kind of go into that weird sludgy grunge riff type thing. And
Yeah,
it's just like, like just for a little bit. I'm like, okay, they're pulling all the genres out. They're like, we're not fucking around. Like, now is that a thing where it's like it's just by feel? It sounds and feels good, or you're like, hey, I want to have like this kind of part going on here. What is that for you when you're writing?
He usually comes to me with kind of a skeleton of a song. Like he has a lot of riffs and stuff, so I feel like he probably knows. And then like there are certain parts where we just jam, and something unlocks where I start playing something, or he plays something a little different, or like, hey, what's that? And then we kind of manufacture it, and it's more of what it like. Oh, what feels good? But a lot of times, I think he has most of it kind of laid out where he wants, and then it's okay. It's kind of let's tweak. That doesn't quite sound right. Let's maybe jam on that. Okay, this sounds a little bit better or feels a little bit better. But yeah, I think it's more he comes to the table with something, and then it's let's play surgery. Like let's take this thing apart a little,
Right.
and put it back together and see what's the best version.
Okay.
So with this album, as I'm reading the description, it says you're talking about the moons and the rotation and how they're locked.
Yeah,
the 1, 2, 4.
Yeah.
And so I read this description before I pressed play on the album, and then you talk about how that influenced your songwriting, and there's a lot of parts that are like a 1, 2, 4 pattern. And as I'm trying to listen to the album and say, what does that mean? And so what I noticed, and help me out here if you want to then explain your songwriting process and how that all came about. But as I'm listening to it, I feel like you'd play a riff once, then it had maybe just like a short fill, and then you'd play the riff the second time, and I felt like that fill was extended, or you added on the second rotation, and then when you play the riff the third time, now that fill is like 4 bars long, and it really goes like an extra long fill on the end of it. And I was like, that must be what they're talking about. And it wasn't like every single riff, but I just felt like, am I imagining it because he said it, or is it really like we definitely sat down and said, all right, we're going to play this riff 3 times, and it's going to go 1, 2, 3. They're all different, and each fill gets longer. Was that kind of the idea? Like, does that?
Yeah, and I forget exactly what songs, because
there's several times
there are several where it's not exactly the same,
right?
Or there are at least for me that there are 2 separate songs where it is exactly the same, that I play a beat, but it was a recurring thing, and I'll let him explain it more. But it was just like he came and he's like, "Hey, I got this. It's gonna be this part. It's gonna," and like it was funny because there were songs that it's like, this is the last song of the album. I know I haven't showed it to you yet, but this is gonna come back. But it's gonna be ever so like I could already tell. It's like I have some stuff mapped out, and I'm like, all right, I'm excited to hear that, but cool, let me try and finish this song. But like, it's awesome when it's like he's already just like, ooh, I got something to show you, and I'm like, okay, dude, let's go.
So like, absolutely. The final riff in Ganymede, it's this like, bam, 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 bam. So it's like musically, like there's the 1, the 2, and the 4, and then like we like ride on that riff for a second, and then it goes directly into the next song, Europa, which like starts with like a variation of that, like 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4 thing.
Right.
And then it comes up again in IO, which is actually that like that the big dumb sludgy like bam 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 bam. And it's like it's the same riff, just kind of like varied a little bit. But it's that like the orbital resonance of those 3 planets. So the innermost moon, the innermost of the 4 big moons that orbit Jupiter, it for every 1 orbit of Ganymede, which is the furthest out, Io orbits 4 times, and then Europa, which is in the middle, orbits twice. So the ones as they get closer, their orbits are quicker. And so that was like my way of representing that like relationship between their orbits.
Right.
And it was just really fun. And then in Io too, in like that kind of like weird discordant section, it's like the repeat. I think it like goes like 1 to 2 to 4, back to 2 to 1, or like it like goes up and then back down.
I think I remember when we wrote it, like we
it
played
started
it one way, and then we jammed it going the inverse on the way back, and we're like,
let's do
we
both.
should do that. Like, with like it was like, whoa, let's try that. And then it was like a little bit of jamming. We're like, yeah, let's.
That's like a really good example of us being like, this is cool. How could we make it harder?
Yeah.
How could we make it weirder? How could we make it
And I feel
more
like that's
absurd?
just got to take an insane amount of practice, because you can put songs in a box and say we're going to play that riff 4 times, and on the 4th time we're going to go into the next riff. But you guys are taking every single riff and making it like each time you play it different from the next time. And I'm like, that's got to take a lot of work and energy to like, all right, I know the last time we jammed it sounded like this. I've made it longer and better, so your part is now harder.
Well, I absolutely love that, because obviously you have trust in the other musician that you're jamming with, and you both have an understanding of music that's on almost the same level, because it's hard. We talked with the band the last time we were together.
Yeah.
It's hard sometimes when you want to throw different timings at somebody and they just stare at you like, no, we play that 3 times the next time and there's only once, or, however it goes. So you got to be on the same page, and that helps that you can throw that stuff at each other.
Oh, definitely.
To make it harder, and you both understand.
And you're geeked up by it.
Exactly.
Too. Like, yeah, hell yeah, that. Man, that's, yes.
That's the fun. Like, luckily, I don't, because if I just jumped in with no prior experience and was like, hey, Lucius Fox, like, I still think we'd be playing and be awesome. But luckily, I started with stuff not quite as difficult.
Right.
And I think you were slowly progressing towards writing more difficult stuff. So like, luckily we were on the same page. But I will say too, there have definitely been times when like he comes to me with something and he just sits and plays it, and I'm like, you can just loop it, because like I'm literally like I have to figure this out before I play it, and then we'll just sit there and kind of like, okay, and then I'll start.
I'm just like, I need to keep playing it because it's really hard.
Yeah, so he'll usually keep, and then
Yeah.
it's funny because like once I get sometimes it's just I finally lock into it where it's like, okay,
That's only one.
I can play something.
Yeah.
So let's just do this. Like I said earlier,
Yeah.
let's just play this so we can play the whole song.
Yeah, so it
And
gets you
I'm
to
gonna
the
write
next
this part later.
Yeah, yep.
But then,
That's
there
smart,
are
though.
other parts where it'll be like, okay, we're jamming and I'm getting it, but then I slowly start changing something. There have been a few times where, like, I'll play something different and we'll both kind of like, oh, like where it's just like, oh, we think this is it. Like,
yeah,
so, sometimes when you just like hit something where you're like,
yeah.
oh,
That's it.
yeah. There have been a few times where it's like off of a jam where it's like, oh, I found the drum part for this. Cool.
Do you bring a lot of the even time signatures so that it's like in 4 or 6, just so that you guys can know that we can extrapolate and go really long on this riff, but it's going to come out on an even beat, so you know where one's at, and you don't have to get lost in it. But I swear I heard some 5 in there along the way at some point because I saw you were like you're kicking, but no note.
Yeah.
So it was like at the end of the night, I think in Jupiter maybe, where it was like, there's definitely an odd time signature happening here. But I felt like for the most part, things were kind of like landing like one, you can almost anticipate, even if you're 4 extra beats or 8 extra beats, like you kind of know where one's at. Is that a strong part of your songwriting, or is it just like whatever you're feeling?
I think it's a lot of like kind of whatever I'm feeling. Sometimes I'll like deliberately be like, I want to try and write in like a like less common meter, or like it like in like a 7 or a 5, just to do something different. But a lot of times it's just like, this is what sounds good. And sometimes like, I mean,
It's hard to make those odd time signatures sound good, because it's
definitely.
like, as much as you're doing it, I would feel like you would have a fear of getting lost all of a sudden. Like, oh, we go into that 5 part here. Like, God damn it! Like,
Yeah, 5s are so tough because they never resolve. So it's just like you kind of can get stuck in that 5 always. It's like it's hard to get out of that 5 if you're in a 5, or something like that.
You can make a 7 flow, but you better be aware that you're doing 7s.
Right. You got to know where you're at. Like,
I don't know. I feel
Or
like we've been lucky enough that like we've just played enough and slowly progressed that when it's getting more difficult, like it's kind of just like, okay,
we'll figure it out.
Cool. Like I've already done weird time changes that I didn't even know what the timing was.
Right.
And then I just wrote something and we got it down. So
So
even when new stuff does come up, it's like, okay, like
just
if it doesn't
blue
sound
collar
good,
that shit.
it's like if it doesn't sound
Yeah.
good, that's fine. Right now, I don't know
Right.
what to do.
right.
Tomorrow, I'll listen to it and I might be like, oh, cool.
Right.
That's what I was missing.
Yeah.
Or the next practice, be like, hey, can we try this? Or maybe next time he comes and he's like, hey, I tweaked this.
I want to add.
I think this is going to be a little bit easier or better. But yeah, it's a lot of slight changes and stuff where we're both like, oh, this is getting to where it's the finished project.
Yeah. Like you guys can kind of you reach a wall at some point. You're like, no more changes.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to change it anymore. And it's done.
There have been a few.
Sometimes though, it's like, man, like,
And you still.
or it's like the thing that we just finished recording, like the last song on that one, like it was the last thing that we wrote, and like we like finished that song like just before going into record. So it's like now we've played it a little bit more. Would have changed this thing, but now it's already recorded, so it's but there's no use in dwelling on those feelings.
So here we are, 5/18/2025 today. This came out on December 8th, 2023. So anything else you want to say about this, just since it's your newest album? I will say that Jupiter is goddamn amazing. The main riff, the lush melody, it's all fantastic, man.
Thank you.
You guys just do an awesome job. I'm a big fan of your music. But yeah, is there anything else that you want to speak on about this? And then we can kind of talk about what's coming up. And
I'm just really proud of it. Like, I don't know. I feel like, kind of like I was saying earlier, it's really cool, like, just like feeling like, yeah, I did the best version of this on this album, and it leveled up from the last one. Like, it's not redundant. I mean, like, there's absolutely similarities between all of these because, like, we wrote it, but like I just feel like there's things that are on this that weren't there before. That's like evidence that like we're just getting better and like doing this on a bigger level. And I'm really proud of it. Like I sometimes I'm like, man, I wish that we like maybe would have waited a little bit longer to put that out, or like gotten it out earlier, because we put it out at the end of 2023, and I feel like it kind of flew under the radar. Like our homies like all really liked it, and we had a really good response with it, like with our friends and like some people that we don't know. But it's like, man, I think this is really good. Like maybe if we would have put it out in like the spring, maybe it would have popped up on more people's radars. But I'm really proud of it, and like we did a run of tapes with it that we like sold out, which is pretty cool. And
Yeah.
it sounds amazing. Like it's
Yeah, we had some pretty dope merch. I feel like that, like you said, just leveling up every time we do something. And then I do feel like at least Jupiter, and like until our next release, it's the longest song we've done. And I do feel like
people seem to like that one.
I feel like too, it's our
Like
it's the
best
one song,
representation.
yeah, of the band as a
Okay.
whole, where it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
if you had to pick a song to be like, we want you to we want to show you as much
Mhm.
as we're like, that's probably the best version, because it starts off pretty kind of simple, works its way. There's some parts where like drums either drop out or just like a little snare roll in between, and then it goes to
A lot of dynamics.
holy hell, like this is loud as hell, and blast beats, and it's all over the place, and it's
Some synth in there.
a little bit of synth, which is nice.
And then it just like keeps like going harder and harder and harder, and then it's done.
Yeah, like and like, I mean, it was long already, but then through the process of like jamming, like the whole entire ending part of like a build up and then like breakdown at the end, we didn't even have, and we weren't finished with it, but we were pretty close. We were like, hey, this is pretty solid. And then it was just like, I think back to back jams where we came up with like, hey, this build up would be cool, and let's do this, and then all right, that sounds pretty good. And then like the next time, I think you kind of kept playing, and like I just went into that like kind of breakdown beat.
Yeah.
And like I just kept playing, and then you kept playing, and we're like, I think that's the end of the song. And then we kind of just tightened it up at that practice. Like, all right, that song just became like 3.5 minutes longer
Sweet.
Yeah.
when it didn't have to, but it was like, all right, cool.
That's badass.
You can get away with that in a musical band like yours.
Right.
So before we jump into what's next, even though we're almost already 2 hours into this thing, so do you play any of the old stuff, the old stuff, or do you got like live, or do you just kind of focus on the stuff that you guys?
It's super tough.
Pretty much just
I bet it. would
Yeah.
be.
Just being so like, I don't want to be so prolific, but like he writes so much.
Yeah.
And like we do a little bit of writing together, but like I said, he's usually like, hey, I have this skeleton, or I have these few riffs. Let's jam on it. And then you just start seeing I feel like a lot of like, there are a handful of songs that we play, like Winter, Human Sea Lamprey, like, and Crimson Straits. That's probably the oldest that if someone was like, sit me down at a drum set and like, hey, go play, I could play those. But most of those albums, I'd be like, dude, I don't like, we listened to a few,
and, like, relearn it.
yeah, we listened to a few, and I'm just like, I don't even remember writing this part for this section. I'm like, oh crap. So it's difficult. Like if we did like a really long tour, like it was like, hey, you have to play a 2-hour show, I'd be like, all right, we have to learn some old
You
stuff.
guys could do that.
But with your old stuff, old stuff that you played on though. So I'm
Yeah,
asking
I've
about
never played anything
Okay,
that
so
I
that's
haven't
like the
played.
way farthest back.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I've never played anything
Gotcha.
that
Do you-
I didn't write.
So this incarnation of the band, you play what you guys wrote
Yeah.
together. What you
Yeah.
got? Okay, and that's fair. That's cool. So
Paul,
I
do you
didn't
have-
really need to even talk about all those other.
Oh,
music,
No, it's
but,
okay. Well, it's funny because
but
I just
love
thank
love
you,
doing
though.
that
No,
with
it's
the
cool.
bands
Yeah,
'cause it
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
encapsulates everything that you've done. You know,
That's really cool. I mean, for me,
Well,
I'm like, damn. Like,
I was
there's
about
been a
to
lot of
say-
stuff. Like,
I
I
have to
don't
admit-
think about it. Like,
well, I have to admit, because I was a fan of the band before I was in the band.
Right.
So especially early on, I was like, hey, as long as it's not stepping on toes, I wouldn't mind maybe doing a different version where he changes up a little bit of one of the older songs, and I
Right.
kind of just write something pretty much completely
Do
new.
your thing
or just
on it.
be like, hey, I really like the beat that John did here or Alex did here. I'm going to stick with something like that through this section,
Right.
but write different parts.
Hmm.
Like I was, especially early on, because we didn't have our own, like, between us, our material.
Right.
It's just like, hey, I could listen to some of the songs and try and figure something out, but then he already had quite a bit already written where he's like,
We don't need to.
we
do
can
that.
just jam on this, and if you can write drum parts for these few songs, like, we have enough.
Yeah, you're good to.
Yeah.
to
So,
move on. Okay, that
Paul-
was my big question.
Do you have favorite tracks from before your participation in the band? You have like,
Give me a top
It's-
20.
yeah, right. I know there's a lot.
it honestly, it would be difficult, and no offense, but like, since I got into the band, I haven't really listened to a lot of
you
the
just
old,
knew.
like,
Dude,
I mean,
a lot
like,
of
I-
anything of art. Like, I'll re-listen to it if it's an old song that we're gonna try and play,
Mhm.
or obviously when we're writing,
Yeah.
or like trying to get mixes back. Like, I listen to a lot of that, but I don't sit back and re-listen
Fair.
unless it's like, hey, we're gonna have to play this song.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah, I
sense.
was just curious if like, as a fan before joining the band, if you like knew a couple of select songs that you were like, man, I fucking love that song. Like every time he plays it, I'm for it.
Realistically, I'd have to listen back, and it is sad because there are some songs that'd be like, it would be sick to go play, or
Right.
just for you to like rip out a riff of one of those
Yeah.
people, like, because there would be people like, holy
Yeah.
shit, we've never heard that, and it's like, well, yeah, and it's funny, I do feel a lot of people might be like, is that new? It's like, nope, this is the oldest
Super-
stuff that we
super
technically
old.
have.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was wondering about that. Now, when you guys are jamming and writing in the room, are we recording this on a phone or a Zoom recorder or something, especially if you're just doing a freestyle and feeling stuff out? That's the first part of the question. The second part is the question, do you ever feel like when you're listening back to those jams, you're like, that's how we got to play it, but it's hard as fuck to get back to there because you're in the vibe and feeling? Because I've done some jamming in my day, like fucking jamming, and we would record it just to fucking jam and freestyle. I love doing that.
Yeah.
Just finding out what notes work and like maybe having a little something. But then when you go back and you're like, let's try to recreate that part because you're freestyling, sometimes it's very hard to get that vibe. So have you found that hurdle if you're doing that, if you do record your sessions? Or
Absolutely. Like we do the phone recording quite a bit. We've done some more like elaborate like setting up mics and stuff too. Like when we were kind of prepping to record the thing that we just finished, we rented like a cabin up north in the off season and like went up for a weekend and just like played the songs over and over again, and we like a little bit more deliberately mic'd it. But usually most of the time it's just like, hey, here's my phone. Like it has a pretty decent recording interface with just the voice recording.
yeah, they
app.
don't sound too bad.
Yeah.
If you put them in the room and just don't let them peak, they
Yeah,
sound pretty good.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, like and so we were talking about it like recently, like we have pretty much always like we jam at least like a little bit during practice just to kind of like warm up, and it's like we should be like archiving these better. But we've definitely like we've built stuff out of those before, and like expanded on things kind of like Paul was talking about earlier. But yeah, definitely sometimes though it's like, man, how did we do this?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know how to get back there. Yeah.
It's like you captured that lightning in a bottle, and it's just hard.
Once,
to,
yeah,
It's just
absolutely.
hard to get back to that vibe. You're like, oh, that part was so sweet. What were you doing? You're like, I think I was doing something, and you start playing it, and you're like, that's not it.
Yeah.
And, like
No, there
the
have been a
notes are
few
the
parts.
same, the
Yeah.
beat is the same, but it's just
I don't
not
know,
the
it's
same
not the
vibe.
same,
Like, sometimes that jam is just you're just in that moment.
Once in a
you know, it's
lifetime,
just-
yeah.
it's just a thing. So yeah, that was my big question. So. Tell me about kind of what just happened with you guys. You said you went and recorded something. What's on the docket for?
Yeah, so we just finished up recording at Raygun Recording in Kalamazoo. It's Chris Frankhauser's studio. Chris is a really talented engineer and really talented guitarist and just incredibly knowledgeable, just great dude. He'd been playing in a band called Glass God.
Oh
I don't know
yeah,
if
Yeah, we're
yeah.
familiar.
That was actually one of our first reaction
Yep.
episodes.
We've
Oh
listened
heck
to them.
yeah!
Yeah.
He's one of the guitarists. Was one of the guitarists in that band. Now he's playing in a band called No Simpatico.
Okay, just saw their name on a flyer.
Yeah, they had their album release last night.
Okay, that's,
So I was
Yeah,
there.
that's what it was.
We're playing with them Friday. in
Friday.
Grand Rapids.
Yeah,
they're
it's
doing a
at the top.
couple album releases in different cities.
Yeah,
Sweet.
but yeah, he's got a studio space in Kalamazoo, and so yeah, we just finished recording a full length there. I mean, and it's always this is definitely a full length. It's longer than the last one. I think it's probably about 45 minutes of music.
Okay.
But yeah, we're really stoked on it. Like we have like most of the first mixes back, and like they're already sounding phenomenal. And I'm just like, damn.
Yeah.
Like it was an intense process. Like it took a long time, and it's kind of like what I was saying earlier, just like trying to level up and like write more intricate, but like not jerking off music and like trying to make it like good and like impactful and like emotional and all that. And it was a lot of work. And like listening back to these mixes, I'm just like, damn, like we put something really cool together.
I'm glad you touched on emotional because he sent me them, and I didn't listen to them the first day. I was just like, all right, we got him back, cool. And then I sat back the second day in a dark room. Not gonna lie, I got a little high, so that might have been part of it. But I was like,
That's fine.
I wanted to just chill,
Got to be in the
listen
right mood.
back,
Yeah,
and like at least talking to you guys and like artists, I feel like you're not gonna be like, oh, fucking
This guy.
asshole. But like I did cry.
Yeah,
like
that's
Hey,
when
you're
it
not the
was
first
like,
person
just
on
like,
the
okay.
show that said that when they've heard
I've
their
done
music,
it.
and
Yeah.
I don't.
It's
Dude,
like
there's
at
no
least,
judgment
at least
here,
talking
boy.
to like
I don't-
talking to another
yeah.
artist and stuff. You
Yeah.
at
No,
least understand where it's like that's awesome. Like a lot of people are like, oh, but like a lot of
No,
artists
it's-
are like awesome. Like because that when that happens and it's just
like an emotional
it's
response.
it's
Yeah.
just knowing what
It's a
went into it.
release.
And it's
Like,
also pride, man. You're
Yeah.
fucking proud of it. You worked hard
Definitely.
on
Well-
it. Like, be proud of it. Be proud of yourself. Be proud of what you made. You know,
Yeah, just
we only get one chance on this flying dirt ball. We don't know what's after that. So
Yeah, for
fucking
sure.
be
That's
proud.
a new
Cry.
song.
You know,
Flying
fucking-
dirt ball.
Yeah. But, you know,
next LP.
yeah, isn't that the new scientific? Name of the next
Flying
LP,
dirt
the
ball.
flying
Yeah,
dirt ball.
yeah, yeah.
Like you don't have to get that complex.
yeah.
with all the,
just to back up Paul's sentiment here, like I know when I got some of the final mixes back from Jason on our last recording, I just had myself a moment too because it finally all came together.
Yeah.
The vocals, the lyrics, the samples, it was done. He's like, dude, I'm not doing any more of this. And Jay was probably ready. Like he probably was on the other side of things. He's like put all this work into it, and I'm done giving him feedback and criticism and critiques. And you got to change this. And and then I finally listened to it. I'm like, he did it. He fucking did it. Like, my guy, he did it for me. Thank you.
That's my boy.
Like I was like, so like he's like washed his hands of it, and I'm finally ready to receive my gift. Like I'm finally because I've given him all this feedback and hey, let's do this or whatever, and like these are the way these samples have to go, and I need you to. I'm telling him you got to like strip the music off of the samples in the background. You got to add your own music. Here's my ideas for the music, and he's the producer, so he has to do all of it. And I'm feeding him all of these ideas. And these are just little minuets, and and then the whole thing comes together nice and clean. And I'm just like I'm listening to it, and I'm like, he did it. It's perfect. I just had a moment, man. So whenever I hear something like that, I can relate, and hey, you're not alone, man. And I'll tell the story a couple times along the way. I don't mean to make you feel awkward, but you did a great job.
Oh, don't make me feel
I-
awkward.
I
I was crying because I was tired of fucking listening to it.
You're like, finally, he says it's done. I don't
do
have to
this
go back
anymore.
on this.
Yeah.
Click this. man.
He's like, be sure.
Yeah.
Be sure you're done.
Our tears were for different reasons.
I guess really quick, we'll pivot to a different topic. And I know we're about done here.
Yeah, we're gonna get wrapping this up here pretty soon. Don't want to keep you guys too long.
I
Plus
have to
it's,
ask this question
Yeah,
before I
please
let you
do.
guys go. It sounded like as I'm listening to you tell your story, Jeremy, all the music that you've played in and out of Lucius Fox, like I was kind of picking up this vibe that when you're not sure where it's going directionally with the band, like between drummers or whatever, or you're just writing by yourself, I hear this element of I write sad, somber, almost folk, chill music by myself.
Yeah.
But then when I've got the energy of the drummer and I've got Lucius Fox going full tilt, then it's heavy metal, full balls to the wall.
Yeah.
Is there a chance that we would hear a completely stripped down folk project from you outside of Lucius Fox, or will there be even more breathing of that in your Lucius Fox?
That's a really good
material?
question.
'Cause I feel like I'm really intrigued by that based on your clean passages. I'm like, man, this guy can play clean stuff.
Thanks.
So nice. Like it's just like drinking clean water or swimming through a spring water. I'm like, I love these cleans as much as I love all this hyper stuff. So I'm like really fascinated by that aspect of your musicianship. Is that something that you would explore more?
Yeah, I think like this next album, I think it has more clean parts on it than the previous few have. But it's also way harder and heavier. Like I don't know, it's like both ends are pushed to the extreme, I feel like. But so like right now, like and this could very much change, but like where my mind's at, it's like I feel like the next Lucius Fox needs to be like way heavier and like harder. But I've been like,
then what we're awaiting, like so
Yeah.
the next thing,
like yeah,
after
yeah,
the
yeah,
next thing.
the thing after the thing that's not out
The
yet.
thing you're writing right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
while
It's the
we're-
new thing, not the new thing, but the new thing.
The thing that's baking,
So, like,
it's almost done.
In my
Yeah,
brain,
yeah.
it's like, man, just need more of the big dumb riffs. we gotta get stupid with it. But like, but at the same time, like I've been working on some like kind of like you were saying, like sad, like somber, like more acoustic-y stuff. I don't know if I'll record it or if it'll ever get out there. But
I
like,
think-
I'm always writing stuff. So
I think those two things complement each other very well. I love moving from a clean passage melodically into a heavy passage. And I love it when a band's got a good intro that's clean, but then that melody carries over into the song. We don't just stop on a dime and get crazy with it and it makes no sense. Like you incorporate that melody into the heaviness and you slowly progress it. And I think that's something that you're perfectly capable of doing and have done already. I just feel like it's going to get better, and I'm really hyped up on whatever you guys drop on us. Like
thanks.
if it's going to be more clean, I'm looking forward to that. And if it's going to be more heavy, I'm also looking forward to that. So I think both of those things work really well.
Thank you.
Especially when you have them together, it makes the heavy heavier.
Mhm.
You know, you take a nice little breath, and you're like, and then you just drop a bomb on us. Like,
Yeah,
yes, let's
the
go.
Dynamics are huge.
I love it.
So, I have like 55 more questions for you guys.
You guys are here till midnight.
Yeah.
Well, I was about to say
Well-
we can do another one
Well, that's
after
the
a
thing.
release or something.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
what I was going to say. Let's just wrap this one up by just saying, like, when do you kind of expect this album out? What can people expect? Like, what's next for Lucius Fox? Tell me about like a couple shows you got coming
Yeah.
up soon, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. And then, if you guys want, I know sometimes it's a process. Maybe when you guys are more than welcome back anytime you want. But maybe if you want to come back when it's about to get released, or
That'd
you
be
got a
amazing.
single
Absolutely.
or
That'd be
anything
really
like
cool.
that, we could talk for another 2 hours because I got a ton of questions for you because we kind of just went through the catalog.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like I said, you guys are always welcome back. But let's just wrap this up because we're already 2 hours in, and I actually have to get somewhere this afternoon.
Sure.
But excuse me. So, what's next as far as this album goes?
Yeah, so hopefully, I mean, it'll be out this year.
Okay.
However that ends up being, but yeah, we're hopefully gonna have like mix and master done in the next few weeks, and then I'm kind of giving like a short window. I'm gonna pitch to some labels and see if anybody wants to pick it up and help us out with it. But like with the like expectation that we want to get it out in 2025.
Okay.
And so if that ends up not happening, and that's whatever, we'll self-release if not. But we're pressing vinyl for it, so we need like on the short end, that's usually like an 8-week thing. So I really feel like it's kind of a summer album. So like ideally, I'd love to put it out in the summer, but I don't want to I want to like have it all like there at the same time and not just like put it out digitally and then get vinyl later. I mean, there's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that, but I just like I want it all to be like good to go.
Yeah.
So like realistically, I'm betting it'll probably be out like in the early fall.
Okay. Cool.
But we're going pretty hard like the next like month and a half or so. Like we're gonna be at Tip Top in Grand Rapids, and I guess when this gets out, this will probably be in the past. But we're gonna be in all over Michigan in May and June. We're gonna be out of state, kind of doing like an upper Midwest run in August, and then hopefully just getting around as much as we can regionally in the fall too.
Okay.
Are
cool.
we going to keep things under a lid because we're going to shop it to a label, so we're not giving any names, titles, anything first single? Or are we going to just? Because I respect it.
We'll probably hold off for the time
Sure,
being.
sure.
But hopefully, like, there's something. I'd really like to get like a song out in July.
Okay.
I think that'd be pretty cool.
Will we ever see a Lucius Fox music video?
There you go.
Probably. Our friend Kent Warner from
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was
Slugshot.
a visualizer of
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
music video.
They've been on.
yeah, they're great. They're
Yeah.
they're good friends.
Yeah, they're awesome.
But we'll
I
probably do a
definitely have a
music
couple-
video.
I have a couple ideas, like two in particular that I want to do.
Mhm.
It's more just like having the time to do it,
Yeah.
the manpower to do it, the money
The
to do it,
cash, yeah.
the people with the cameras and the right stuff
Yeah.
where what I have in mind can actually come out, and finding the people who are like, oh yeah, and we can talk. It's like, oh, you actually know what I want, instead of like trying to talk to somebody and they're like,
Yeah.
You gotta
maybe let's try this. It's like,
Collaborative mindset.
Yeah, like-
yeah.
and I don't want to be, but it's like certain, like when you have a song set, I have certain things where it's like, I have it in my mind and I don't want to be too much of a jerk, like, but I want it a certain way.
Yeah.
And I have it
Yeah.
in my mind where it's
Right.
like, that's exactly how I want it. It'll be awesome.
No,
Yeah.
same with Jay. When
But-
I was giving them sample ideas, I was like, I need this instrumentation behind it. Like, and I couldn't see any other thing. I was like,
Mhm.
just send it back to me when you're done, bro. Like, I get you 100% on that.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you're like, there's not a lot of push pull on this one. Just help me out. Like, this is my
Mhm.
idea. I can't do it. Can you facilitate this for me? Other times, I'm just like, whatever you got's fine.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I could see a lot of cool like visual stuff going
absolutely.
on with you guys just
Thank you.
because already the stories you tell and
Yep.
you know the visual you already have with the art and stuff just to be
Mhm.
able to expand on that in some kind of deeper exploration of whatever it may be, space or planets or moons or whatever, you know. So
Yeah.
there's those options. But I was just wondering, I just thought that'd be cool, or just to see you two dudes just jamming, even if it's a live something with
Oh, for sure.
overdubbed or something.
Well,
you know,
yeah.
that'd be cool to see some shit like that.
We've talked about, and we're in the market. I don't think this year we might have some experimentation in the fall and winter, but I don't think we're going to have something real set until next year. But we've been talking about doing some visualizations and some projections
Oh, hell yeah.
stuff
Yeah, projectors would be
for
great.
us.
Like-
but
Just adding to like the visual component of it.
yeah, just, I mean, I feel like a lot of people, when I do say when you have a singer, a lot of people are like, okay, like you can look around at the band and then like focus on the singer, like when he's
Right.
doing the chorus, like people sing along. With the instrumental band, I feel like it's good to have
It's a way of
imagery and
leveling
stuff going
out.
on,
Yeah.
just to sink yourself more
Yeah.
into it. Because I will say a lot of people do latch on to lyrics. That's something
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
so like for certain people, when there's no lyrics, they're kind of just like, okay. And then especially when it's weird timing, they're just like,
Yeah, sometimes
I'm getting lost on this. But
Yeah.
like when you can kind of just space out,
Yeah.
have stuff going in your ears and seeing a film going on or like a loop of some planetary stuff, you're like, oh, this is cool. And then the change in music and like color light, you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
Yeah.
what just happened?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, shit, boys. I appreciate you guys coming through.
Oh,
I'm a
thanks
big
for
fan of
having
your
us.
music.
Yeah.
You're welcome to come back on anytime. So
Please
you get
do.
that.
Thank
let
you.
us know. You get the album warmed up. You get it in the oven, whatever it comes out. You let us know, and love to have you back on. We'll talk more about it. Like I said, I got like fucking 55 more questions. We didn't even get to all the normal
It
stuff
happens.
we ask. But you know, when you have such a long, catalog and we kind of go through all of it. For me, it's just more of an archive thing for myself, and
Oh,
it
that's
is
awesome.
kind of for the band too, just to kind of revisit some of that stuff, even if you hadn't played it in 15 years and
It's
kind of forgot about
really
it or
cool
whatever.
to think
you know,
about.
so-
It's awesome.
or 10
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Plus, for
so-
anybody trying to get hip to this band,
Yeah,
got
exactly.
a lot of
You
material
know.
they can dive into and
And-
enjoy.
and all the stuff that you're on is absolutely fantastic, but I like the older stuff too, man. So it's like you put a lot of good music out there. I know how it is. We've got a catalog of CDs, and sometimes I listen to it, and I'm like, I wish more people listened to this and heard it how I hear it.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right,
Like
yeah.
the adventure of, because when you remove yourself from it, it's hard when you're so close to it sometimes, because you're just like, oh, it's just something I did. And I'm the same way. Forward, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? And then sometimes you kind of forget about, man, you gotta pat yourself on
Yeah,
the back
yeah,
a little
yeah,
bit and
yeah.
say, man, I did put out some cool shit back then too. I know we can put out cool shit next week,
Yep.
but I did put out some cool shit in 15 and 17
yeah.
and 19, you know,
Yep.
so. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight that. And that, with that being said, Lucius Fox, you guys fucking rule, man.
Yes.
And I
Thank
appreciate
you
you guys
guys.
coming
Likewise.
through, man.
Yep. So nice
Yeah.
meeting you guys.
Yeah,
Thanks for the
likewise.
drive.
Yeah.
And then, just to thank you guys, like seriously, this kind of thing is what helps local bands like just get out there,
Yeah.
just to be able to talk about music like this and other local bands with like-minded people. It's
awesome.
it's awesome.
Yeah,
It's just
thank
like
you.
bands and houses and DIY spots, stuff like this, DIY podcasts,
Yeah.
just
It's
talking to
community.
musicians. It's
Yep.
yeah, it's
It's one
top
part
tier
like
shit.
We
work,
appreciate it, man.
talk
Absolutely.
shop for musicians, but also for fans to get to know you guys on a deeper level. Like we didn't get into hobbies or extracurriculars or
Yeah.
anything like that, but for any aspiring bands, they can like listen in and see what it is that you do and how you do it, and just get to know that process better. Every time we have a band on, they give something new to aspiring musicians, and also fans who like to just deep dive in, almost borderline parasocial. Maybe I don't want to take it that far, but yeah, I think some music fans they just want to know everything they can about a band. So we love having guys on to talk about their music and their approach to making their art. So thank you for sharing that with us.
And it makes my day when I have one message or somebody to say this band rules, or I didn't know about this band and I checked them out because of the show or whatever. I'm like, well, that's cool. That's just at least one more person that's listening to the guys that are working their ass off and doing a great job, because there's so much great music just in Michigan in general, So, but yeah, with that being said, we'll just wrap it up. Much love to you guys. Keep it metal.
Thank you.
Awesome. Likewise. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Later. Thank you so much for checking out the episode. Be sure to hit that like button and give us a share.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed our podcast today, please give it a rating on your streaming service to help us gain some exposure.
And if you really enjoyed the show, please give us a follow or hit that subscribe button and come hang out with us every week. And remember, keep it metal.